Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. Hoping you're having yourselves a fantastic morning this morning. Appreciate your patience here as we got set and ready to go for a fantastic next couple hours that we have here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill available to you at their brew house out in the country on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York, on Palladino Farms, and of course in their newest location, Heritage Hill North, our exclusive home for all of our CNS North Stars live on-site, on-location broadcasts, including our most recent broadcast this past week with boys and girls swimming and diving as they get set to have their own on-site pool. They've been for many years utilizing pools off campus, and now they're going to have an opportunity at CNS to have their own swimming pool for their boys and girls swimming and diving teams. So a lot of great stuff coming up there with them. You can go back and watch those videos on Facebook.com and YouTube.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, right there at Sweetheart Corners. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', the snack capital of the world, letting you know who's going to be on the show today. And I am ecstatic for the opportunity to celebrate in hour number one my friendship of over a decade with Nate Hackett, the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets, joining me for an extensive conversation to speak on all things Jets as well as his journey. And of course, plenty of talk on Aaron Rodgers, their quarterback, who we hope this season will show us what he can do with the New York Jets. Excited for that. Hour number two, as you know, every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time is Bearcat time. So we'll be joined here for this Bearcat Breakroom special featuring this time around Paul Marco, the men's soccer head coach of over 2 decades on campus at Binghamton University after getting back from 10 days in Kenya, Africa, coaching. A lot of great stuff coming up in that conversation. You do not want to miss a moment of that. And I feel like if you don't like soccer, or if you've never been around soccer, Paul's going to get you to open your mind up to soccer because his story is incredible. It's fun. It's exciting. And with over 5,000 guests that have been on the show, his story more unique, different, and unlike anybody else I've ever talked to. So very excited to share that. And we'll round out the show as we always do on a Tuesday with the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's. Today's topic is outside noise. A lot of great stuff coming up here. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, and we'll be back with my extensive special with Nate Hackett in an all-new segment on Wake Up Call we're calling Jets Stream. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognize that we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill coming to you on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York, out in the country of central and upstate New York. And you'll find their newest location at 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York at Sweetheart Corners. That's Heritage Hill North by the Syracuse Hancock International Airport. And when you jump onto a flight from Syracuse, it is 45 minutes, a swift 45 minutes over to see the New York Jets play, and the Jets going on this season for 2024-25. I'm here with offensive coordinator Nate Hackett. Nate and I have known each other for many years, over a decade, met back in Syracuse, then Buffalo, then Jacksonville, then Green Bay, then Denver, to where we are right now. Mr. Hack, how are we doing?
Doing great. God, when you say it that way, it seems like it's been a heck of a journey for all the years that we've known each other.
It has been. It's been a long journey, but it's been a good journey, and I think we've learned a lot and taken a lot from this. So, you're here with the New York Jets, and this Broadway connection here. We know that no matter what the record is, the Jets are always in the news. What has been that experience like for you to be in Gotham City, so to speak?
Awesome. I feel like I'm Batman. I mean, in the end, this is the biggest market there is in the world, the biggest stage, and why would you want it any other way?
So for you, coming off of last season, obviously not the season that was anticipated, with Aaron Rodgers coming in at quarterback, a lot of hopes for the Super Bowl, and a lot of fans energized, and after just a few minutes in the first game of the season, life changes for the Jets. As the leader of the offense there on the sideline, working through this situation, trying to find the right quarterback, trying to find the right fit, and trying to piece together a season without Aaron Rodgers. What was that like for you, and how did that challenge you that everything that you had hoped for changed within just a few minutes?
I mean, that's unfortunately that's part of this football game. I mean, when you get into this thing, you got to be ready to adjust. You got to be able to find a way to do anything and everything you can to put your guys in the best position possible. Unfortunately, as a coach, there's things that we can't control, whether it be injuries or, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that you're trying to coordinate consistently throughout the year. And I think that going through that experience, there's always adversity during a season. Somehow, some way, you're going to face it. And you learn a lot about people. You learn a lot about the players. You learn a lot about the coaches you work with every day. And I think in the end, it wasn't what we wanted, but you just continually try to find ways to grow from it. All the adversity that you face as a coach, as a player in this game, it's got to make you stronger. And that's how we look at it.
And for you, I mean, you've spent a lot of time with Aaron, and this relationship goes back to Green Bay. There's a lot of opinions of Aaron Rodgers, but it seems like a lot of people don't truly know the man. And in most cases in sports and entertainment, 99.9% of the people that are talking about the man or woman have never spent time with them. You have spent a lot of time getting to know him and seeing him grow through his career. How would you describe Aaron Rodgers through the eyes of someone who actually knows him, as opposed to many talking heads that act like they know him?
Yeah, that's the beauty of our profession, is it's entertainment. And it gives the right for every single person to formulate any opinion they want. They get to judge anything they want, and that's what we all sign up for. And we know that. We know that that comes with the profession. And I think a lot of the time it brings us closer. And for me, a guy like Aaron, I mean, he's a special human being. I mean, he's somebody that I just respect so much, not just as a player, because we all can watch that. We see the things that he does. I mean, he's a magician when he's out there. But just to know him as a human being is something that I'm honored to have gotten within my life, and my family have had that opportunity to get to know him, because I mean he's just so amazing, just as a friend, as a person, just in the locker room. I've always said, I think that's maybe more of a superpower for him than anything else, is how he talks to the guys. It's sincere, and I mean, he truly loves to play the game and be in that locker room with the guys, and go out to practice and joke around and be serious and get angry at people. I mean, he's the epitome of that it factor on how he just is as a human being. And I mean, just the amount of time that we spend in a meeting room, you have to enjoy yourself as much as possible. And it's somebody that you can mess with and you can jab at and push at the same time. And so, our relationship has been something that I've cherished since I've gotten to know him, and will cherish for the rest of my life.
He's somebody that's publicly been there for you, publicly defended you. We go back to the Broncos game last season. What does that mean to you that Aaron, he's a worldwide name. He's a very recognizable face, not just with the Jets, but with the NFL. To have him step out and be there for you, what do they say, that your true friends are the ones that fight for you in rooms that you're not in? What did that mean, that Aaron has gone out publicly to speak on your worth and your value and just what he thinks of you?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, he knows who I am. He knows who I am as a person. He knows how I work. He knows the things that I understand. And I think that's something that I'm grateful for. And, he speaks, in my opinion, he speaks his truth. That's the brilliant thing about Aaron. Whatever he says is what his truth is, because otherwise, I mean, he'll tell you good and bad. He tells me good and bad. But it's always great when you have that trust, especially with a guy that's playing the quarterback position for your team. The trust that he has in me and the trust that I have in him, and that'll never waver, no matter what we go through. And the more adversity you throw at us, I think the better and stronger we'll all be.
And you and I have talked about this before, but being in a room with him, that you tell him when you think he's wrong, he tells you when he thinks you're wrong, and you guys go back and forth, and you're open to watching that film and going, okay, Aaron, you know what? I didn't see that. Or Aaron saying to you, all right, Nate, maybe we could try that. What is that like, to have a relationship where you can have constructive criticism and you can work with someone of his caliber and learn from him and he can learn from you, and that neither one of you is kind of stuck in the trenches of, this is what I see and I'm not willing to see anything else?
I think it's imperative. I mean, to have the ability for open discussion on any topic whatsoever, and to be able to challenge each other and know in the end we have the mindset of what's best for the team. And I think that that's so important because it's going to make you either feel more convicted in something that you believe, or if something's proven wrong, you now have the ability to revisit it and maybe make it better. So you always want that. I mean, that's how we want it with the coaches, with the players, with everybody, is that if as a coach, you always, if you're questioned, it's something that, again, if you don't have a reason for it, then you should either change it or find something else to do. And unless you can truly prove that that's the right thing to do. And I think that's something that I appreciate from him, because if there is something that he's like, what are we doing? Why would we do that? I know he's always going to challenge me, and I know I always have to have an answer and a reasoning for what we're doing. So it makes me better, makes me more detailed in every single thing that I do, along with all the coaches and players. So I just think that just makes a team better.
Yeah, and for you, speaking here with Nate Hackett, offensive coordinator here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, coordinator of the New York Jets on the offensive side of the ball inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, the weapons that are there for you offensively, some of them returning, some of them coming onto the team for the first time ever. We know that Breece Hall, what he can do when healthy, Garrett Wilson and the phenom that he was, and I'm happy that he made me right, because I said he would come in and be the number one receiver as a rookie, and he did not prove wrong there. Now, Xavier Gipson is a guy who has a great story of how he stepped up and fought his way to be on an offense, be on special teams. Mike Williams coming in, Alan Lazard, who has history, came in last year with Aaron Rodgers, and then some of these other guys in the backfield as well as in the receiving corps, trying to work through them and seeing what you can get out of them here in camp as you head toward the season, and obviously at tight end with Tyler Conklin. So what can you say about these weapons, knowing that some of these guys were not household names, that the Alan Lazards of the world, Aaron Rodgers is like, hey, I want this guy to be with me. And then there's other guys that had big names coming in like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, and then Mike Williams is trying to continue his career on the East Coast now, coming from the West. This mashup of talent that you have, how would you describe it?
I mean, it's something you're very excited about. For me as a play caller, you hope that you get a whole lot of plays every game, because there's a lot of people that you feel unbelievably comfortable getting the ball to, because they all have the ability to make plays after the catch, make contested catches. Breece out of the backfield, like you said. Tyler Conklin was one of those sneaky tight ends. You got Jeremy Rucker, Kenny Yeboah. We've got these two young backs to pair up with Breece. Yeah. Like you said, the wide receivers, having Big Mike here. I mean, I've watched him for years. So just all these guys, I think, you want to feed them all. You want to get them all a different play. You want the defense not just to be able to take one guy away. I think that's what you're always lucky to have when you have this many guys, is because it's truly a team sport. One guy is not going to win you a game. I mean, even with Aaron needs them all. And so I think just to have, all this collective group is really something cool, and something that we're working through. We're trying to figure out what everybody does well, what we can do more of, how we can open more people up, understanding how people are going to take, whether it's G away or Breece away, and then who can step up away from them, and how we'll make those adjustments throughout the game. So it's fun. I mean, it's a good group, and especially being in the second year. I don't think anybody understands that jump to the second and third year when you're in the same system. I mean, I look back at our experience at Green Bay, and we had a rough start those first, I think, 8 games, and then all of a sudden it started clicking. And this year, to have everybody back, a lot of those guys you mentioned, to be there, so it's not us teaching the offense, but those guys, when you add the other additions, they now can help them out, and you can start talking about the intricacies of everything and why we're trying to attack things. And you can talk about little details compared to having the guys just try to figure out where to line up and what the concept is. And so I think it's just everything is an exciting time right now. It always is during this time. So many things can change once you get to week 17. But right now, we're heading in a positive direction. I love watching the chemistry that all these guys have together.
And Nate, I mean, we look at the other piece of it, the offensive line, right? Building that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers and making sure that the timing is down and everything is working the way that it needs to. They're the unsung heroes of football, the offensive and defensive line. You don't hear a ton about. When a defensive lineman gets a sack, you're going to hear it. But typically the offensive line The only time you hear anything about them is when they make a mistake. But you don't hear about when they're consistent. You don't hear about when they do their job. So, what can you say about the offensive line and the depth that you have there, and just really what the take is from one side to the other, and at that center position that is crucial to Aaron Rodgers, just what you could say about the status of the offensive line as we step forward?
So, talking about last year, when you had mentioned it, the adversity that you go through, one positive thing that we had go on last year was we had numerous linemen have to play. So at the time, it's difficult when you got guys coming in that haven't even been in the system and you're throwing them out there and having them play. We played a lot of different right guards, a lot of different centers, a lot of different overall combinations. So we got valuable experience for guys. So our depth is real, which is really, really good. And when you have guys like Xavier Newman that came in and was our third center in the Giant game and helped us win that football game, and now he's here throughout an off season and in through training camp. Max Mitchell got a ton of time, and so that is such a positive and powerful thing for those guys to get comfortable in the system and get that experience. And then you bring in some really good football players in Tyron. I mean, we all know how good he is and what he's done in his career. You bring in Olu as a first-round draft pick, Morgan Moses. You've got Carter that was drafted last year, that he got valuable experience. And then Joe Tippmann got to play a lot of center. I think that's a huge benefit for us. And now we got to kind of put all those guys together. We know there can be all kinds of different combinations throughout a season. But at least we're putting guys out there that have experience, understand the system, and have worked together, been in the same room together. You got Wes Schweitzer, another guy that had to play a lot. So it's just, we've got a lot of experience there. And I think that's something really, really powerful in that room. And that room is really tight. They work well together. And it's been fun these couple days at camp. And we still got a long way before we get to that first game. But again, it's almost a complete overhaul, and now we have some more experience in there with the guys too, which is good.
And I mean, Aaron's obviously been there with the team this past season, but does it feel like it's a second chance at a first impression with the Jets, because last season was so short-lived? Does this almost feel like, okay, yeah, he's been here and you've gotten to work with him at Green Bay and he was on the team last season, but is this the second chance at the first impression, so to speak?
We're just cherishing every day. It's an honor to be able to work with all these guys. Aaron, all these different players, Brees, Tyron, just getting to know him, Tip, all these guys. I mean, I really enjoyed the time we all have together and watching those guys work and problem solve out on the field and work together. And first impression isn't as important as the last impression. So we just want to be in position. We want to be healthy, and we want to get through this season and get to where we want to get to, which is a long road ahead. So we can't get too far ahead of us. But no, it's great to be with all these guys and watch them work.
I know you love Star Wars. Have you continued the model of your offense to have Star Wars centric named plays or changes and nuances to it? Have you and Aaron had conversations of, okay, this is going to be the Millennium Falcon, this is the Han Solo play? I mean, is there a quarterback keeper called the Han Solo? I mean, I'm just wondering where we're at here.
We've always talked about using some more Star Wars terms. We always have some fun ones that'll pop up here and there when we want to utilize them. But usually, whenever we are trying to find some kind of word, I always start throwing out Star Wars lines or movie lines. We're big movie guys in that room, where we're always making sure, especially the young guys. I'll tell you, it's funny. You look around, you got Tyrod Taylor, who's unbelievable. He's a little older, and Aaron's older, and I'm older, and then you got these super young quarterbacks in here that haven't seen some of the classics. So we're always trying to get them caught up on movies.
The team traded up in the 5th round to draft somebody that I know all too well from conversations with him and in coverage of him and his entire team these last few seasons, and that's Florida State Seminoles quarterback alum Jordan Travis. I know he comes in going through a time of injury, but he is a very talented quarterback who, if he had been healthy, I would have imagined Florida State would have been vying for a national championship last year. What are your thoughts about having Jordan Travis in the room, and what does he bring to the table?
I mean, I think it's great for Jordan. I mean, I look back to, when I first got in the league, when, in the early days, young quarterbacks had opportunities to sit back and learn. I mean, you look at Aaron's path. He got to learn from Brett Favre. I mean, even Jordan Love got to learn from Aaron. You look at the Joe Montanas, all these different guys that have had a year or two to be able to just, hey, sit there and learn the system, not go out there and have to play right away. So I think it's a great opportunity for Jordan to be able to get himself right, because obviously he went through a very difficult injury, and I agree with you. I think he was that team definitely had an opportunity to go even farther if he had stayed healthy, and now he can get healthy and at the same time learn the NFL game, learn how to be a pro, learn the system, learn the intricacies, and he's learning from two greats in Tyrod and Aaron. So I think that's just so awesome for him to be able to sit back and learn.
And you mentioned Tyrod, and last season without Aaron, going to Zach Wilson and company, having a bunch of different guys there. Tyrod's a guy who has been on different franchises. He's proven that he can win. He's proven that he can help guide a team in a crisis situation. He's also proven on teams where he started that he could do some good things. So what is the importance of having him in the room there, not just as an insurance policy, but just as a true competitor in and of itself? Tyrod Taylor being on the Jets, what does that mean for this season?
I mean, the minute Tyrod walks into the building, he just gains respect from everybody. I mean, how he carries himself, how he handles himself, how he is in the locker room, how he is in the meeting room. Unbelievably coachable man that, it's so much fun to watch him out there play, because he's such an athlete, but at the same time he can spin it and understands the game. And it's so great to have him here. Just having that veteran presence right there with Aaron. He can mess with Aaron a little bit too, which is always fun. And just to have a guy like that, I still remember the first time I coached versus him. It was funny enough, the Jacksonville Jaguars game in 2017, the first playoff game that I called plays in, and it was Blake Bortles versus Tyrod Taylor when they came to Jacksonville. So I've watched his game for years and have had friends that have worked with him, and all they did was say amazing things about him. So now to be in the room with him and work with him, it's hard to explain how great of a guy he is and how much respect I have for him. And, I'm lucky to be able to work with him every day.
Yeah, coming here from Nate Hackett, New York Jets offensive coordinator, heading into the 2024-25 season. Before we jump into rapid fire, you got to take a little trip with the family. And this has been an interesting road for you. And as a coach, when you are making different stops along your career, there's some time where you're away from the family, and I know how much it means to you to be a father and a husband. So being able to get everybody here, get everyone to New York, be around the family, and to go off and be in a place where it's just you and God's country, right? Just you and nature. What that meant to you to take the trip that you got to take with your family, the time away, and knowing that as you step forward here, you guys are all going to be around each other, as opposed to these last couple years where it's been trying to have to travel and be away from everybody.
No doubt. It's hard for people to understand when you have to be away from your family, when you are have to change jobs, whether you choose it or don't choose it. Being away from the family is probably the hardest thing that as coaches we have to go through. So to be able to be in your second year, have your family, there's a lot of those stresses are gone, because when we're all together, we're happy and we're enjoying life. Just to have dinner together, talk to each other, be on the same time zone together, all those little things. So, and even just to be able to get out for vacation a little bit, travel some, get out to Europe, take the kids, was just, it was unbelievable. And I was so grateful to do that with my family. And like you said, be in nature, understand how small you really are in this world when you're looking at the mountains and hiking through mountains. It's something fun, and it's great to almost reset yourself and just appreciate the little things.
Yeah, Aaron did a reset, went out to the cabin with the no power thing. Could you see yourself doing that? No electricity, no phone, no DoorDash. Could you do
Oh yeah.
an Aaron Rodgers retreat?
Without a doubt, we do a form of that every year. It's always good to unplug a little bit. You know, this whole world, everything's watched, everything's posted. I mean, everywhere you go, you got a phone. My kids got a phone, you name it. So I think it's always good to try to set that stuff aside and focus in on each other and you know those important things.
You spent almost 2 decades in the world of the NFL. What has changed? What stays the same in your offensive mind? Because you and I met when Doug Marrone and yourself were putting together a combination of systems, NFL systems, to bring to Syracuse. What stayed the same and what has changed in how you run your offense?
You know, I think that probably the biggest is that you always have to be ready to adjust with the guys that you have. You know, you can always say there's a specific offense that you want to do, and if you don't have the guys that can operate it, or they might be better at something else, you have to be willing to change, and you have to have a vast enough system to be able to kind of hone in and focus in on what those guys do well. Like whenever we talk about the Syracuse experience, when we were in a two-back downhill play action world to going that third season to no huddle up tempo K-gun, that we changed up. So I think that you have to have aspects of everything in your system to be able to take advantage of the guys that you have. I think that that'll never change. One thing that has changed is our practice time. You try to get all these guys ready, and just the ability to practice and the amount of practice has gone way down. So you have to be very diligent in the things that you pick to try to get the guys ready for. And because you can have this vast, but the more that you have, the harder it is to practice those things. So that's why the second year is so important, to be able to get some of those things and experiment with some new things, and but at the same time still keep your foundation. What hasn't changed is some of the old school plays that my father ran back in 1980 that Bill Walsh created. Those things still work. It's crazy. Still, some of the most basic plays are still very efficient in this league.
And your head coach, when you look at Robert Saleh and what he's done with the Jets, this is year number 2, and he gave you an opportunity to lead this offense. What has been your relationship like with him? You work with so many different people. How does he stand out uniquely, and why do you think he's the right leader for the Jets?
Robert's awesome. I mean, I've been with Robert. I was with him in Jacksonville, so I know him well when he was the linebacker coach. Was rooting for him all the time until we had to play him when he was at the Niners. He's one of my favorites. I mean, like I said, I've known him for a long time. I respect him so much. In that role, I think the thing that makes great head coaches is they have to be real. They have to be real. They have to be themselves. They have to be honest. They have to say the truth. Yeah. And I think that's something that he does, and I appreciate that. Whether it's something positive or negative, he's always going to let me know, so I never need to know where he stands or what he's looking for or what he wants. And I think that always helps you, so you don't have any doubt. And I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun working with him.
Let's jump into rapid fire. You and I have done many years of this. So coaches never get to ask the questions. You get to put me on the hot seat. We'll go back and forth for a few. Nate, what's your first question for me?
What's your favorite color?
Well, that's going to suit you guys well. It's green. So
Geniuses love green. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie. I love movies. The one that I can probably recite word for word from start to finish, and I'm gonna build this story before I tell you it. So, physics class in high school, science. I consider myself to be a good student. Always pushed myself to get 100. It wasn't about passing. It was about getting 100 on everything. And physics was tough. And I remember in New York, you have to take the Regents. But if you passed the physics final for the teacher that we had, you would be exempt. I don't know how I did it. I was nervous going in, and I sat down in the middle of the room with my physics final, and I tell you this to this day, I can't remember a single question, because in my head, this was like God's way of calming me down. He turned on this movie in my head. I saw it from the opening credits to the end credits, played the whole movie in my head while I was doing this test. Don't remember the test, just remember playing the movie in my head. And at the end of the movie, at the end of the credits, I was finishing up the test, turned it in, got like a 93, didn't have to take the Regents, The movie in my head, Liar Liar,
Well,
starring Jim Carrey.
that's a good Jim Carrey classic. Do you know how many people haven't even seen Ace Ventura? I mean,
I don't know.
just what a classic that one was. He's unbelievable.
All right, throw me one more. What's your last one?
Favorite Star Wars character?
I don't know what you're going to think about this, but he's the one that got me involved. And I had known about Star Wars and been around it, but the one that made me fall in love to the point where I pay attention has got to be my rolling soccer ball BB-8. So
BB-8.
BB-8.
Wow, I would not have guessed BB-8.
So I'm gonna. What would you have guessed for me? Who would you have thought?
I would have said one of the originals, one of the old school, maybe R2-D2 or, C-3PO, Leia, I don't know, Han, I don't know, Chewbacca, Luke, one of the old schools.
I'm gonna throw these one quick back at you. Favorite Star Wars character for you?
Han Solo.
Okay. Favorite thing to eat in the New York City area and where?
Ooh, Sloppy Joe. Turkey Sloppy Joe.
Where?
Ooh, C&J's.
C&J's. Okay. Last one for you. Greatest Aaron Rodgers moment not on the field between the two of you.
Not on the field between the two of us. Gosh, that's a good question. There's a lot of fun ones. It wasn't on the field, but it was after a game, after we won that playoff game versus Minnesota. I would say seeing him, that first year was up and down. We were able to win a lot of games. We won 13 games that year, but a lot of times it wasn't pretty. And we played at Minnesota in 2019, and we won the division. I think we had 2 games left. We ended up being the 2nd seed that year, but that game, it was magical at their place and winning the division, getting the T-shirts, getting the hats. I remember seeing them and hugging them. I got the picture of it. It was one of those moments of like, okay, this what we're building here could be something really special, and I think that really hit me that night.
That coming here from Nate Hackett, New York Jets offensive coordinator, heading into 2024-25 inside the NFL season and here inside of the Heritage Hill Studios on Wake Up Call. Nate, as always, I never feel like we have enough time. It flies by. But, I appreciate you, brother. And I can't believe it's been over a decade that you and I have talked to each other.
Long time, man. Long time. Good people hang together. I love it.
I love it. I appreciate you as always. And obviously, God bless with the season.
All right. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us, hanging out inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. As you know, Heritage Hill coming to you on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York, out in the country and in the city and right by the airport. You'll find them on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York, at Sweetheart Corners at Heritage Hill North. So make sure you go out and visit them today. When you go in there, make sure you let them know the DT sent you their way. Proud to have them as our exclusive studio partner, Heritage Hill. Well, you just heard from the man, somebody I've known for many, many years, and that being the one and only Nathaniel Hackett. And I appreciate Nate for being on the show as always. I appreciate the time that he's given to me throughout like I said, over a decade that we've known each other. He's been amazing to me, and I can't thank him enough. I really can't. So big time thanks to Nate, but he's a special guy, and I think that, in my opinion, I think that, like we talked about, there's a lot of talking heads out there, and if you knew the type of person he is behind the music, anybody's going to get ridiculed. That's in the sports world. It's you do 75 things right, you do one thing wrong, and they're going to focus on that. And when it comes to Nate, he's a fantastic person. He loves to coach, he loves the game, and I think some things get lost in translation, and like a lot of things in the media world, I don't know if everything gets said completely. So, to Big Nate, this man, he's got the respect of Aaron Rodgers. And some people regard Aaron Rodgers as one of the best, if not the best quarterback of all time, talent-wise. So, that says a lot, and also says a lot the work that he's done, the people that he's worked with, the places that he's gone. And I mean, heck, he worked with Blake Bortles closely in Jacksonville, and they were within 4 points of going to the Super Bowl just a few years ago. So there's a lot of things I can say about Nate on the football side, but in the reality side, besides being a football mind, besides being someone who likes to learn, who wants to know when he's wrong so he can make it right, he's just a good person. He's loyal, and he cares about relationships. He values them, and when he builds bridges, he provides, he always shows up. He's always there. You know, Nate Hackett's one of those guys that I would easily, without question, drive across the country for if he needed something. And so when you see the Jets this season, and maybe a play goes right, maybe it doesn't, go easy on the guy, because there's a lot of people out there that would love to be calling plays offensively, defensively, on special teams. And there's a lot of good people out there, and Nate is one of those great ones. And I think he's an asset to any organization because of his love for football, his time with football, his expertise, his knowledge, his wisdom, but at the same time, more than anything else, his faith, his kindness, his confidence, his courage. It's not an easy job. It is not an easy job. And social media made it even worse for officials, for coordinators, for head coaches, for players. You know, the Jets had a ton of negative publicity last year over something that had no control. Aaron Rodgers goes down injured, and the Jets are I mean, my goodness, Zach Wilson. They say if you can play on the New York Jets or the New York Giants, you can play anywhere, because the New York market is so brutal. And I've covered the Jets. I spent 5 years in SUNY Cortland at their training camps, and I was going back and forth from Syracuse to Cortland and covering those camps. When I lived in Florida, I flew back home to cover these camps. So I was covering the camps when I was living in Syracuse. I was covering the camps when I was living in Florida, because I have a dedication to people that are good to me and organizations that are good to me. You know, I'm going to apply for credentials, and those that treat me right and respect me and respect the work that I do and the way that I do it, I'm going to show up. And I was with the Jets almost the whole time that they were at SUNY Cortland, and got to interview Rex Ryan, got to be around Tim Tebow, and so on and so forth. And, you know, I mean, the media is brutal when it comes to the Jets. And I mean, the media is brutal in general, but when it comes to the New York Jets, there's a lot of people and the Giants, you know, you're going to be on the front page of the New York Times or the back page of the New York Times, and it could be good, and it could be a joke, and it could be whatever, but it's not for the faint of heart, you know. And Aaron Rodgers didn't have to come to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers could have stayed in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers could have retired. He could have gone somewhere else. But he chose to come to a place where he's going to get scrutinized. And when you look at this team, I mean, there's guys on this team that I covered in college. And a couple of years ago, I predicted their first 4 picks when the New York Jets were taking the Garrett Wilsons and the Breece Halls and Jermaine Johnson the seconds and of the world. You know, trying to think back now. It was Garrett Wilson, it was Breece Hall, it was Jermaine Johnson the second. There was another. Oh, Ahmad Sauce Gardner. And I predicted all those picks. And I remember texting my buddy and saying to him, like, you know, because I've been a Jaguars fan forever, I was like, am I wearing the wrong shade of green? Because I had the same brain as the front office of the Jets for their first 4 picks of the draft. But, you know, Sauce is somebody I covered for multiple seasons at Cincinnati, and I was a huge fan of Sauce coming in. And I'm such a big fan of Sauce, I think I have it in the studio. Oh, it's over here. I'm such a big fan of Sauce that I had to get an RPA, a rookie patch auto of his, and I got one, and I totally I ended up selling it or trading it, but I forgot what it looked like. I like blacked it out of my head because I was sad that I let go of it. as soon as I let go of it, I was like, I need to get in another Ahmad Sauce Gardner RPA. And I got this one, and this one will not leave my house. Or this one will not leave my collection, I should say. Rookies and Stars, Great American. It's got a piece of his green jersey. It's got his autograph. Of course, it's his rookie card. And it is numbered to 99. It is number 71 of 99. So, there's my sauce. It stays here in the studio. I actually brought it out to GG Cards and Breaks trade the last trade night that we did. And when I brought it out to trade night, I had a bunch of people ask about it. You know, making offers. And I was like, it's not for sale. Like, I can't. I can't. I thought I could do it. I know I could do it. I don't want to. So, Sauce is going to stay here. I might actually get another Sauce Gardner. But, I mean, when you look at the roster for the Jets this year, you know, we talked about offense with Nate Hackett and what this offense looks like here. The weapons that they have, Xavier Gipson, who earned his keep on the team, to Mike Williams, who's on the team from the Chargers, to Garrett Wilson, who I predicted would be the number one receiver after his first season. Well, in his first season that he would be the number one receiver, and he was. I got a buddy named Brandon Smith, and they got a Brandon Smith on their team trying to make the team, which I think is pretty cool. So, with the weapons they have in Gibson and Lazard, who started out on the Jaguars practice squad, to Mike Williams, to Garrett Wilson, to Breece Hall, and went and got Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, Abanaconda from the Pitt Panthers. I covered Pittsburgh for a very long time. Jordan Travis, covered him, interviewed him, you know, and as he mentioned, Tyron Smith being there as their left tackle, Elijah Vera Tucker there at the guard position. And then you look on the defensive side, I mentioned Jermaine Johnson II, who I covered in college, who came from Florida State, Quinnen Williams and Quincy Williams, CJ Mosley, Sauce, you know, a bunch of these guys stepping up. They got Greg Zuerlein, Old Faithful, with that leg. He's got one of the biggest boots out there. And Xavier Gipson, punt return, kick return. Hopefully he'll get healthy so he can get out there and do his thing. He's questionable right now with a leg injury, and hopefully he'll be all right. But the Jets have a tall task right off the bat. They're facing the Niners on the road week 1. So we shall see. Before we take a fast break and get you set for hour number 2, a wake-up call with Dan Tortora, I just put this poll out 8 minutes ago, and there's already been over 120 votes. Go on to X, the former Twitter, and vote now. I put polls up every week or every other week at CallDT. That's CALLDT. I love putting the polls up, love having you vote. The poll that I just put up is, where do you believe wide receiver Brandon Ayuk will land? Place your prediction now. So stay a 49er. 5.5% of you said that you believe he'll stay in San Fran. 26.8% of you said he'll be a Patriot. 28.3% said he'll be a Brown. And 39.4% of you believe that he will be a Steeler. And the votes continue to come in. And Steelers still leading the way with almost 39%. But another vote came in for the San Francisco 49ers. Actually, a few votes came in within the last couple seconds here. So make sure you vote in that poll. Like I said, in 8 minutes time now, over 130 votes. Go and vote on X at CallDT. While you're there voting on our X feed there at CallDT, make sure you hit follow. I appreciate it as always. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back in hour number 2 with an all-new Bearcat Breakroom and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Binghamton University Bearcats. You do not want to miss a second of my conversation with Paul Marco from the Heritage Hill Studios. Men's soccer up next.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're gonna be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever gonna have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome.
On 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the tastes of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, coming off of that fast break here inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, Heritage Hill Brewhouse on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York, out in the rolling hills of upstate New York, as well as on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse at Sweetheart Corners, their newest location, Heritage Hill North. I am picture-in-picture with Paul Marco, the Binghamton men's soccer head coach for the Bearcats heading into the 2024-25 season, as we get excited for what's to come here in this upcoming campaign. It is more than 2 decades for Paul at Binghamton, and when we signed on to do this exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, Paul was one of the first faces I got to see. and one of the first hands I got to shake. So it's truly an honor and a privilege to be here on Wake Up Call, picture in picture with the man who is worldly in the world of soccer, aka football, to the rest of the world. Paul, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Hopefully having a good day too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I were talking off the air, and I want to jump right into this because, Wake Up Call, as we were talking about a little bit off the air, we're a different type of show. And spreading positivity and telling stories in a unique way, being original and innovative is incredibly important to me. And meeting wonderful people like yourself, you and I were speaking on this, and I wanted to talk with you about the season. I wanted to talk with you because I love the sport of soccer as well. And off the air, you said something to me, and I thought, we have to start here. Because your passion about it was so easily seen on your face. You just went to Kenya. You went over to Africa, went to Kenya, and you got to be there for almost 2 weeks. And I'd love for you to share why you went over there and what you did while you were there.
So besides my work at Binghamton, which is my full-time job, I wear 2 other hats. I am a coach educator, so I'm a soccer coaching educator. I'm responsible for the Premier Diploma, which is one of the highest badges you can get in the States, with United Soccer Coaches. And that organization I've been a member of since I got into coaching in the early 90s. And it's been a wonderful educational experience for me. I've got to go to a couple World Cups. I went to the Brazil World Cup in 2014. I went to Germany and taught the first international badge that we had. And this opportunity this summer came up. It was very tight. I only returned on Saturday night. So I was a little nervous about being so close to preseason.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I have some wonderful assistants who can help prepare some stuff here while I was away. But what a tremendous experience in Kenya. So we were there to teach a national diploma. We had about 43 coaches on the course. My daughter actually got to go over and take the course as well.
That's awesome.
But it was great. And probably the biggest takeaways from it, first, the first time we had a lot of women on the course. We had 5 women on the course. They were all excellent. The level of play was excellent among the coaches. Their technical ability and how you do something with the ball was outstanding. But the biggest piece for me was the positivity of every coach. In our sport, when players make mistakes, especially depending on if you're usually from a European nation, England, Germany, you get on players. You're very critical of them. This was oozing positivity. I was thrilled to be part of it. It was a wonderful experience. I think I'm a better coach than I was a week ago. I might end up with a couple of players here at Binghamton from the trip. So
That's awesome.
I'm always recruiting. Yeah, it was wonderful.
You say you're a better coach because of it. Why?
I think I'm a lot. I've always been very appreciative of the opportunities that I have. I believe it's a privilege here to work at Binghamton. I believe it's a privilege to coach in the college game.
Yeah.
And seeing how little the coaches there have. I mean, most of these coaches have 1 ball for their entire team at a training session. And we pumped up the balls this morning for our training session tomorrow, and we have 4 bags of 12 balls in each bag. So I think it gave me a little more appreciation for what we have.
Yeah.
I certainly am more, I've always been a pretty positive guy. I always think that, if you want more in your cup, half full, half empty, I just have the right amount in my cup. If I want more, I put more in it. And these coaches were very appreciative, extremely positive, loved the feedback that they were getting. They had a thirst for knowledge, which is right up my alley. I'm still a student of the game. I love watching the game. I love watching it through a coach's lens. I just feel energized. If it's possible to be more energized than I usually am, but really ready for tomorrow.
And like you said, this opportunity of going to Kenya and all the positivity and being around that positivity, like you said, sometimes there's a microscope on the game, and because we're watching this game of soccer that starts off 0-0 and we're in the 90th minute and it could still be 0-0. I mean, the one mistake, right? Sometimes
Right.
that own goal, that moment where something just ricochets a certain way, we know that just that one thing can cause such an issue. So knowing that the magnifying glass on the sport of soccer is so large and always focused on a mistake, to be in a situation in Kenya where you said it was all positivity, what did that do for you, and how did that give you more of an appreciation for the game, knowing that there wasn't a focus on mistakes, there was a focus on loving the game and a focus on building each other up and teaching each other and getting better?
For sure. I mean, the focus was on having a better grasp of their craft as a coach,
Yeah.
as well as their depth of knowledge in the game. To give you an example, so every morning we would get up early. Breakfast was between 6:30 and 7. Between 7 and 7:30, we really kind of hung out at breakfast, but the food was gone.
Yeah.
And then at 7:30, most mornings they had probably about a 30-minute time where they had self-reflection. It was a very religious group that we were with. They each got up and spoke about what their religion meant to them. We had different religions. Most were Christian, but we did have a few Muslims on the course. And then how we got to the field was really cool. So they would play music and they would dance and we weren't that far. I mean, we were 100 yards max to the field, but they would dance that 100 yards listening to music to get out to the field. So the positivity and the happiness started right from breakfast. It was kind of neat. I mean, you don't see those things in the States. They don't dance out to the fields.
No, I mean, it almost sounds like. And what were the ages of the people out there?
Most of the coaches were in their 30s. We had a couple in their 20s, maybe 5 or 6 in their 20s, and then we had a few that were in their 40s. But most of the coaches were in their 30s.
So, and I ask that because, to see children play and have fun is beautiful. To have grown men out there celebrating and appreciating the game, having been around it for however many years. I know that you love this game. I know it means a lot to you, but did seeing people in their, like their 20s, I see a lot in their 30s and some in their 40s, did seeing that like big kid that like, I'm 35 years old and I love this and it means the world to me and I've still got big eyes when I come out onto the field. Did that take all that you have for the game and somehow put a little bit, like you said, there's enough in your cup, but did these guys put a little bit more in your cup?
Oh, for sure. I mean, when we're going around the room introducing yourselves and where you're from, we had 2 coaches that they took a bus to get there.
Wow.
And it took 2 days. 2 days of transportation by bus to get to the course. Yeah. I mean, I'm just very thankful and appreciative for the moment I had with them, and I've still been in touch with them. I've been now, a couple of them are trying to send us a player or 2, which is wonderful for us. But they were just so thirsty for not just the soccer knowledge. They were thirsty for how to interact with players, any insight we could share with them. Of course, they were wanting equipment and things like that. I feel for them. I mean, I want to start, figuring out how to raise awareness for some of our African countries who are less fortunate, to have one soccer ball for an entire, 20 to 22 players.
Yeah.
That's difficult.
And you talk about that one soccer ball. You have something you brought home with you, didn't you?
I do. Let me grab it.
Okay.
So this ball is one of the balls we kind of used on the course. There was a company that donated these balls to the course.
Yeah.
And all of the coaches, I don't know if you could see it, but all of the coaches had signed and wrote a little message on it. They drew some pictures on it. It's I broke down when they presented it to me. It was one of those touching moments, one of the was at the end of the week. We had just finished our testing. The group was really good. Everybody was nervous for their testing. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this ball comes in, and they wanted to say thank you. It was wonderful.
And for you, like you said, you wear many hats, Paul. I mean, how did this come about that you're going around the world and, like you said, these courses and these teachings and whatnot? How did this happen that you have these opportunities to go and do these things? I mean, like, I wasn't there, and the way that you're describing it, I'm feeling that emotion. Like when you said I got worked up, I got choked up when they presented that ball. Picturing you going through this, right? And you don't know these people, and then after 10 days, here you are moved by everything they did, and then they hand you this, which to some people is a simple ball, but to you it's like it's a culmination and a remembrance of that moment. And as much as you're the teacher, they taught you something. So how did all of this happen that you got this opportunity to do these things? I'm really, number one, I'm intrigued, and number two, Paul, I'm going to really build our relationship up over the next year so that when you travel again, you'll put me in your suitcase. So
I've been doing coaching education pretty much my entire career. So I started in '92 coaching in college at West Virginia, where I played.
Yeah.
My head coach that I played for, I also worked for. So 92 to 95, I was his assistant. Well, in 94, he got me involved in this organization called the NSCAA, National Soccer Coaches of America.
Yeah.
And the NSCAA has now become United Soccer Coaches. So when I was on this coaching course, the highest badge at the time, the Advanced National, I did well enough on that course that they invited me to join their staff. So I joined as, the young guy on staff and kind of worked my way up. I became a senior national staff coach and been responsible now for the Premier badge for probably, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 years. I've written a new course called Modern Trends that sits now above the Premier. So you would have an A license or a Premier badge to take that course. We'll launch that here soon. And I also work with our Master Coach Diploma, which is like a mentorship, 9 to 12 month course that you would take, not really focused on the field, more about things off the field. And the director of coaching course is very similar to that too. So I do a lot of coaching ed. I love it. It has helped us bring a lot of players here to Binghamton. The more coaches I get to meet, the coaches are coaching players, and they change players. Players grow out of coaches, and by age. So each coach that I interact with, they may have over a course of 5 years, they may end up with 100 different players. So yeah, we've been very fortunate to pick up some of those players here at Binghamton.
Here with Paul Marco, the Binghamton Bearcats men's soccer head coach, as we head into this 2024 season that is fast approaching in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University here on Wake Up Call inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Everything that you've been saying, Paul, is about something that I think is incredibly important in life. It is an art, and it'll never fail, which is building relationships. Who taught you growing up the value and the crucial reality that relationships are imperative to sustaining success and really enriching your life?
Well, obviously it starts at home, right? I mean, my mom was excellent at building relationships. She worked in a profession that needed to have good relationships. My grandfather owned a crane company. I thought I was going to be a crane owner when I was young. And the relationships that he had, and he was probably the most generous man I've ever met, especially with time. He had more patience than anyone. I think I get some of my patience from him. At least I would hope that I make him proud with that.
Yeah.
He also um, he was generous with not only his time but his labor, his work.
Yeah.
And I think that I have tried to mirror that. And then I've had some really good coaches. I had a coach who was probably the best player coach. And what I mean by that is all the players loved him. We would do anything for this coach. It was how he treated us. It was how he made you feel. He always made you feel like you could do it. And I feel like that's what I got reminded of this past week. You know, everybody felt like everybody could do whatever they were trying to do. And if you didn't get it on your first try, you were going to get it on your next try.
Yeah.
I conveyed that message to my college guys today. We talked a lot about positivity and the conversations you have. Be careful of the conversations you have outside this room. I gave an example, and I don't know how it worked out, but I gave an example this today about, you know, the conversations you have with your parents. Your parents aren't here in Binghamton.
Yeah.
I mean, we have got new players from across the globe. We have some international players that have come to join us. We have our first Israeli player. We have our first Brazilian in a long time. So, you know, I said to the guys, just next time you talk to your folks, tell them how hard it's raining in Binghamton and the weather's terrible. And it's beautiful skies when I'm giving this talk, and about 7 to 8 minutes later, all of a sudden we just got monsoon rains.
Yeah.
And the guys were kind of picking on me about that, about predicting the weather. But it is really truly about the conversations we have. And, you know, we talked about happiness, and when we close out our courses, we talk about 3 Ps. One of my friends, Shellis, who I teach with, he talks about people, place, and purpose. And if you have all 3 Ps, you're probably a pretty happy person. The people that you're around, the place that you live, place that you work, and do you find purpose in life? I believe that I get an extra 2 Ps. I think I pursue my passion every day. I'm very passionate about the game. I'm very passionate about Binghamton. I really enjoy the people I work with here. We have wonderful administrators, great colleagues. The coaches are wonderful. And we have terrific student athletes.
And you talk about those student athletes and, you know, looking at the roster, which I implore you all to do by going to bubearcats.com. This roster full of all over, like you said, Virginia, Germany, of course, Binghamton, New York, other parts of New York, Israel, Pennsylvania, Brazil, as well as, and I'm looking at, Smithtown, New York, Churchville, New York, and so on and so forth, England, Paris, France, and the state of Washington, as well as Georgia, Buffalo, Ithaca. I know Manassas, Virginia. I'm seeing that on here. I mean, this is such a melting pot, and isn't that what soccer is? I honestly feel like if you're a soccer coach and you're putting together a team in college, I almost don't know how you don't go all over the world to do it, because this game is such a worldly game, and I just feel like when you watch soccer and you see it professionally, and you just all these different languages of people, but they speak the same language with their feet. And I would love for you to get into your roster a little bit more as we look at Germany and England and New York and Virginia and Brazil and Israel and Pennsylvania and so on and so forth, and just what this specific 2024 roster means to you.
Well, before we jump into that, you just reminded me of a new, and not new, I probably, in all the years doing coaching ed, I probably have had 4 or 5 deaf coaches. So we had a deaf coach on the course in Kenya. And what was really neat is we had an interpreter. So they're doing their sign language. I don't know a lot of sign language. I was learning it with Kevin, our coach on the course. But he was trying to get us to do certain things, and he's signing to the interpreter. She now has to have signed back to them, and then she finally tells us what he wants us to do. And finally I said, scrap it. Like, you don't need to tell us, just show us. And it goes back to showing us with his feet. And he basically said, do this, and then he just went out and did it.
Yeah.
By the end of the week, we didn't even really need the interpreter. And I still really didn't know what he was saying. I just knew what he was doing. So our roster, it's kind of unique. Like Binghamton attracts high-level students.
Yeah.
The niche is, can we attract high-level student athletes? And for that limits our pool a little bit, right? Like at West Virginia, I could probably take anybody. You know, we had 2 players that were non-qualifiers. Here, we can't get a player that's a non-qualifier. So the academic makeup of the 2 universities are much different. So with a limited pool, we have to look over a lot of places. We always start in town. I always want to try to bring the best local players and keep them here at home. So usually, through the time that I've been here, we've been able to attract the better local players, and they've stayed here and played. And some have had wonderful successes, including MVPs in the league. And then the circle kind of just gets bigger. And then it stays in New York because we're a state school as much as possible. Yeah. But it's difficult to compete in our conference with solely New York kids. You know, I mean, Albany, look at their roster from last year. They had 22 international players and only 5 New York players. And that's a school in our capital. Our conference is excellent. Probably, well, it is the best sport in the America East. Men's soccer is the highest rated sport in the America East. This year, we probably will have 4 teams nationally ranked out of the 8. Last year, we had 3 make the NCAA tournament. If UMBC got to the final, I think they probably would have made it as well. So it's excellent. We've been in the top 3 to 4 conferences in the country. So it's a really good conference. So we've got to do our homework. We've got to go out and look for players from everywhere. And we have a lot of transfers. That's what's changed recently in Division I. There's many more transfers. The portal has changed kind of college with obviously the COVID year. That had changed too. Everybody getting an extra year of eligibility. And that changes now next year. We'll see a shift kind of back, hopefully.
Yeah, and you know, you brought it up, the transfer portal, because Binghamton is, like you said, you're not getting fringe student athletes there because the education demand is so high. When you're going into the transfer portal, how are you attacking that as a coach? Like you said, the COVID extra year will drop off after next year, so hopefully there will be, you know, some return to, you know, high school kids that are kind of nervous about their recruitment and whatnot. But how do you attack the transfer portal? Are you every year kind of saying, hey, listen, we're going to get the best of the best from high school in the transfer portal? Do you lean on the transfer portal and say, hey, these guys have been playing collegiately as opposed to those that are coming over from high school? I mean, how do you try to marry the two together? Because different coaches have different philosophies.
So our conference somewhat dictates that. So we have, I mean, last year in the semifinal game against Bryant, our left back during part of the game had graduated in 2023. The player that he was playing against, their right wing, graduated in 2013. That's different. You know, that's a 25, 26-year-old playing against an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
So some of that is dictated by who we play against. To keep up with them, we must bring in older players. Yeah. This year's incoming class has 4 freshmen out of the 11 incoming players. So clearly we have more. We have 7 transfer students, 2 grad students, 5 undergrad transfers. And in that freshman class, we have arguably one of the best goalkeepers out of Pennsylvania. He's an All-American high school player out of Pennsylvania. And we have a state player of the year out of Virginia coming. So this class is a pretty good class. 2 Virginia players, a New York, Long Island, one of the better players on Long Island. So the underclassmen, the 4 freshmen, really good coming in as freshmen, might take a little bit of time to play just because of the age and the maturity of players. And I don't just mean in their character, I mean on the field, their maturity on the field, their ability to understand what competitive spirit has to be at to play at the Division I level, how fast the game is, how fit the game is. I mean, it's remarkable how much ground the players are covering now. All the players are in GPS units where you get to see their top speeds, and some of the kids are hitting 20 miles per hour, and they're doing it again the very next day, which is crazy to think. And then, we are looking internationally. We have a good mix of international players.
Yeah.
Most of that is done by position, what kind of needs the team needs. But I would like to see us get back to where 4-year players are coming. I just don't know how much that will be.
Yeah, I mean, and I can appreciate obviously your desire to do that because it's commendable. You mentioned your staff, and you said going overseas, going over to Kenya. Your concern was I'm getting home this weekend, and then we're going right into practice. But you said I have a good staff, and when we talk about the staff and we look at Tommy Moon and Evan Maslin and Harrison Williams, what can you say about Tommy, Evan, and Harrison, and just what they do together to challenge you? And to also give you that peace of mind that you can go overseas knowing that you have a good staff.
So Tommy has been with me for a while. And when I mean a while, Tommy has been around me since he was 10. He grew up here locally. He played locally for us in the club that we work in. He was a tremendous youth player. And then he decided to attend. He was one of those youth players that I wanted to try to keep at home.
Yeah.
What we did with Tommy is we sent him away during the summer. So Tommy went out to Des Moines to play in the PDL at the time. He went to Washington to play with DC United's U23s. He went down to Jersey Express. So during the summers when Tommy was in college, he was getting out of town. And then obviously he would be back for college. So he played 5 years. He had a serious injury his senior year and returned to play the next year. I think if he didn't have that injury, he probably would have had a pro career at some place. He was that good of a player. And now he's been on staff since 2015. So he obviously, him and I see the game very similar. We discuss the game. We talk about it all the time. Just before I got on here with you, I was with him. We were picking up some food for the team for tomorrow. And we're still talking about the game. And we watched one of the Olympic games today, and we were kind of chatting about that. And then Harrison, I've known Harrison for, probably 25 years. He's a retired school teacher down in the city. I had him on his coaching badges. We hit it off great. We stayed in touch. And then he moved up here just over the border into Pennsylvania. And he was working on our youth club, and I decided to add him to our college staff. He's been wonderful when it comes to relationships and helping us solve problems on and off the field. And then Evan Maslin just joined the staff this past month. He played youth soccer for us here. He grew up in the Whitney Point area. He's into politics a little bit. He currently has a job in politics, where he's kind of stepping a little bit back from. He'll continue to work in that a little bit, but he trains the goalkeepers. I've gotten a chance to work with him over the years in a coaching capacity as well. Yeah. And when we had an opportunity for him to step on, it's just wonderful for him to join our staff.
And as we take this staff forward in this 2024 season, you have something that we also don't typically see. Now, the America East, we know, is a Northeast laden type of conference, but non-conference and in conference, you're not leaving the Northeast your entire schedule, which is not typically heard of, right? You're going to be starting off in Emmitsburg, Maryland against Mount St. Mary's, Maryland, out of conference, and then you'll be home for 2 in a row. Your first home match is going to be against Lemoyne, which is an hour away, and that'll be on August 25th on a Sunday at 1 p.m. Then on August 28th on a Wednesday at 6:07 p.m., William and Mary. Then Hempstead on the road for Hofstra, and then you have Colgate at home. Then you go to Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey on the road. Then you're back home for 2 in a row, Central Connecticut State, and then getting into AEC play. Your first America East match this season is going to be September 28th on a Saturday at home at 6:07 p.m. Eastern Time. For people wondering why is it 6:07 and not 6, 6:07 is the area code, and UMVC there to go up against Binghamton. So, looking at this, your second match of the season's at home, 2 in a row, and then we look at your first AEC game in conference is at home, and you're not leaving the Northeast for the entire season. To me, from my outside looking in, that looks good to me. But how do you think the schedule kind of lines up from your point of view?
I think we have a terrific schedule. When Tommy and I put the schedule together and we were talking about teams to add, um, our biggest challenge is getting off on the right foot. We want to make sure that we get, our 2 exhibition games. We play a week from yesterday, so we play next Monday against the junior college national champions, Monroe. We play them usually every year. One, for recruiting, we see what they have. Is there anybody that we like that we want to try to bring to Binghamton?
Yeah.
And it's an excellent game. They're an excellent team when it comes to possession and keeping the ball, and it'll help us in our pressing and how we want to try to defend in a mid block and a low block. And then we play Navy at home as well in another exhibition game. The challenge for us will be that we play Bryant, UNH, and Vermont all on the road.
Yeah.
From last year's performance, those are the top 3 teams. So those will be very difficult road games for us. But I like our team on the road. I think that we perform pretty well usually on the road. So I am looking forward to the schedule. I think that we've got the right spacing between games. We should be able to fully recover. We have a couple of open weeks that usually we don't get, and this year I think we have 3 open weeks when usually it's either 1 or 2. So that's going to be a good thing too for us.
Yeah.
It's hard to get guys fresh and conditioned when you play every 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I mean, with them all having GPS units and topping off 20 miles an hour at times, and like you said, doing it again the next day, I mean, we forget that when people watch athletes, you forget that this is still a human body. It's not a car, It's not a plane, it's not a boat. This is a human being, and that engine needs time to kind of cool down and get set for the next time it's going to take a ride, so to speak. We're going to get into rapid fire in a second here, where you and I get to ask each other questions. It can be sports related or it can be about anything, get to know each other, have some fun. But before we go there, the final point that I want to make, and there's a million places I can go because I could have just stayed on the Kenya trip and all of that for this entire episode, and we'll have to spend more time in some of this and the World Cup and the things you've gotten to do. But behind you, you have scarves. And, when it comes to the world of soccer, the soccer scarf world, I have some myself, and I'm very proud to have the ones that I have. I saw some Red Bull in there. That was the first MLS match I ever went to, and the second one that I ever went to. So the first time I went and saw the MLS live, it was when they were still in Giant Stadium, and I got to go see the Red Bull. So I'd love to kind of get the story behind the scarves that are behind you here in your office.
So some of them, most of them are games I've attended. The German scarf back there, that was the NSCAA International Diploma that we did. Some of them, we have players that have played there. So there's a Baltimore Blast one up there. We have a Binghamton scarves. You can kind of see next to Baxter, there's a Binghamton scarf.
Yeah.
That scarf used to be our season ticket. So we would, sell season tickets, but the ticket was actually your scarf. So you would just wear your scarf into the game and get into the games. Since Gene has come in, our new athletic director, he's made a few changes. One of them is, for most of our Olympic sports, entry is free. I think that I got caught up in my first few games that I went to with getting a scarf, and then it just kind of stayed. I try to get a scarf at all the games that I go to.
So here's my question to you. What do I have to do to get a Binghamton scarf for my studio?
Oh, easy. I can send you one. You just need to get me your address.
Fair enough. Those Binghamton scarves are nice. But
they're nice.
I have Red Bull, and I have Orlando City SC because I covered them in their first season going into the MLS. But my team, my favorite team, is I like picking teams that are coming into their inaugural season, so there's no bandwagon. So my official favorite team, and I just posted a video recently on my social media for the Crown, my team is Charlotte FC.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So I took them like a year before they played. I was like, I
Uh-huh.
think this is going to be my team. And then I watched their first game on YouTube TV, which was nice. So let's get into rapid fire. It could be about anything. Coaches never get to ask questions, but on this show you do. So you can ask me anything in the world, Paul, and I have to answer it, and we'll go back and forth.
Okay. How did you get involved in this type of podcast?
You know, short answer, I'm a storyteller since I was like 5 years old. My dad used to open up his word processor and put it on the table, this typewriter with this little green and black screen, this high tech typewriter. And I would get up there and I'd type on it at 5 years old and I'd create stories. And I have that word processor in my office, which is connected to my studio that I'm in, to remind me of how I got started.
Cool.
And I yeah, I love telling stories. It's on my ring. There's a feather pen, and it's a reminder to me that be it my music, be it my comedy, be it broadcasting, be it screenwriting or anything that I do, everything starts with a pen and a piece of paper. And I love telling stories. I love spreading positivity. I love bringing people together. I love making people laugh. So I got into this because all of the things that I am, I was going to do anyway. And I thought, why not make my career me? So then
Cool.
I don't feel like I'm working, and everything that I do has my whole heart because it's me.
Right. Well, that's one of those P's. That's the purpose. Yeah.
So
And
my
you get to do it at the right place too. It looks like your studio is part of your home.
yeah,
That's great.
and the thing is, I mean, having like you said, the P's, the purpose, the people, I get to meet great people, and I get to tell their stories. I mean, I look at the story that you told me here today, and we've had over 5,000 guests on the show, but I've never had someone with the scarves and that element. I've never had somebody with a Kenya story. I've never had someone with this type of background that you had. So to me, I'm constantly being challenged, and I'm constantly finding just the uniqueness of people and realizing that everybody has a story to tell, whether or not they think so. I feel like it's my job on this earth to make sure that I can help as many people as possible know that they matter, that they're heard, and that somebody appreciates them.
We today was a long day of meetings. I mean, we've been at it, and I'm still kind of on Kenya time. So I woke up this morning around 4
Yeah.
because they're 7 hours ahead of us. So I was wide awake. I decided to leave for work. My wife was like, "Why are you going in so early?" It was about 6:15 when I left. I ended up stopping at Starbucks. I hadn't had a good Starbucks, and I drink tea. We did have tea in Kenya. It just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
So I got a tea, and I ended up just staying at Starbucks until about 8:30 when I came in. And one of the things that I decided to do is we try to have some icebreakers, the first day, kind of meet and greet guys. We sometimes do snowball fights where you write some stuff on a sheet of paper, you throw them around, and you try to figure out who wrote what on the paper. But today I put a slide deck together that kind of had different words on it. So one of the words might be superhero, and then you had to get in groups, figure out who your favorite superhero is, and then kind of what groups liked Batman and Spider-Man and so on. But we normally kind of have either speed dating or where somebody stands up, they tell, two truths and a lie, and you try to figure that out. But I've decided that this year we're going to do things a little differently. So we're actually going to tell our own story. So tomorrow I'll give a demonstration. I'm going to go first. It's 2 minutes on the clock. You have to continue to talk for 2 minutes, and you get to tell your life story as much as you want to share, as much detail as you want to get into. But I really think that trying to get to know each other in that, the beginning stages coming together.
Yeah.
We talked about the 4 stages of a team today, and that kind of just coming together stage and what that's going to look like for us. Hopefully we can blow right through the storming stage and, come back together. And I think that this storytelling time is going to be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to hearing what some of our guys have done in their young lives.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think all those icebreakers are definitely worth utilizing at any level with any team or jobs and whatnot. I think that's huge, and I think that the 2 minute tell me your story, that's really cool because you're gonna kind of see where people's heads go, what they focus on, what matters to them, and if they only had
Right.
2 minutes to talk, like what do they want you to know? I think
Right.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So my
And
question,
we're going to try to get
okay.
through everybody in 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
cool.
it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I kind of want to be there for it. I kind of want to just be there and sit and just listen and be like, now I know all the guys. I know what
Yeah.
kind of matters to them. So my question back to you, Paul, is going off of that. I'm going to put you on the clock for 2 minutes, and I want you to tell me Paul Marco and go now.
Well, I was born in Del Rio, Texas. My family moved around a little bit. My dad was in the Air Force, and I'm the oldest. So we moved from Texas to Hawaii. I don't really remember it. I see the pictures and wish I remembered it, but I don't really remember it. And then we settled back where my family is. My mom and dad were both from the capital region. I grew up in Rotterdam, where my family owned most of the town. I mean, my aunts and uncles and everybody had anything from restaurants to TV repair to the crane company to construction, a little bit into politics. I have a brother and a sister, both are younger. My brother Sean got involved in soccer. That's how I got involved in it. He is 3 years younger than me, and he started playing when he was much younger than I did. I didn't start playing the game until I was in 10th grade. I fell in love with the game and then just didn't stop playing. While growing up, I started normally like most American kids. I started in baseball and did a little bit of that. I picked up golf in high school. But I did play a sport that not many play. I was a roller speed skater.
Oh.
I skated on a national level. I traveled around the country like kids do now for youth sports. I had some wonderful coaches, some wonderful opportunity. I mean, one of the big words now is plyometrics and jump training. I was doing plyometrics when I was in high school training for roller speed skating. I thoroughly enjoyed my childhood. My parents had a summer cabin above Lake George that was in the family.
Yeah.
My great grandfather had built it, and it's still there. My family still goes up there. But I was dropped off on Saturday all through elementary, middle, and high school. My brother and sister and I would be dropped off, and we would be picked up on Labor Day. So I had kind of two friends. I had my friends where I grew up most of the year, and then I had friends that I had for all summer that kind of lived up in that area where we were. I come from a family of soccer players. My dad and my uncle both played. My uncle was my first coach. He probably changed my life because I really fell in love with the game when I played for him. And then I had a kind of a unique recruiting story. I was supposed to follow my high school sweetheart to a school, and she moved to the state of Washington. I've not seen or heard from her again. And then I just decided I wasn't going to go to school. And I went on a recruiting trip, on a trip with my cousin to go to a junior college that he was going to attend about 40 minutes from home.
Yeah.
I took a just out for lunch, and I was playing some video games, and the coach there, Tom Rogan, came up and asked if I was going to school there. I said no, and he gave me a tour, and I ended up going there, started the next day. He changed my life. I mean, I wanted to be that guy. You know how you've had some mentors in your life where you just want to be that guy? I really like that guy. So I start in engineering. I switched to physical education. I thought I'd be a college professor. I go to the University of Tampa on a recruiting trip. And while I'm there, I go for a run just in the neighborhood. A bunch of guys are playing pickup soccer. This guy comes up after we're done playing. His name is Rocky Harmon. He's the second guy that changed my life. He was the assistant coach at the time at West Virginia, but he was a Tampa alum. So I guess I played pretty well, because if I didn't, I think they would have said, hey, the guy with the tail, let's not have him on the team next year or next week. But I do pretty well in that game. I end up going to West Virginia the next weekend and end up obviously attending West Virginia. I played there for a few years. I had a wonderful career. I had a wonderful mentor in John McGrath, the head coach, who got me my first job. He got me into this. I can't thank him enough. Every time I see him, I thank him for my life, because without him, I probably wouldn't be in soccer. And then I'm married. I have two daughters. One dances. She just made the Washington Wizards dance team.
Wow.
And then I have going to be a sophomore at the University of New Haven, who plays soccer, who actually passed her first coaching course in Kenya. So, and my wife Cheryl is a nurse. Yeah, we live in Endicott. We have 2 cats. My wife has taught herself how to speak Spanish. She, I think, said today that she's over 550 consecutive days on Duolingo. And the cats that we have, they're kittens. They only speak Spanish.
Oh.
They only know Spanish. She screams at them in Spanish. So when I tell them it's time for me to feed them, they don't know what I'm saying. I have to talk to them in Spanish. But no, but life is good.
That's awesome. That was an awesome story.
How'd I do?
You
do
did
all
good.
right?
You did good. That was good. That was
You
good.
put me on the spot, to be fair.
What'd you say?
You put me on the spot. I haven't rehearsed yet for my time tomorrow night.
Hey, I mean, it's this whole conversation has been unique. Your life story did not disappoint in the uniqueness. Final question that you have for me, Coach. What do you got for me?
What is your favorite sport to cover?
Oh, that's tough.
And why?
So I've covered so many. I joke with people we haven't done water polo yet or curling, but
I think curling would be all right to cover.
yeah, curling.
I like watching it.
Curling is fun. Curling is interesting, but I mean, there's one. So I'm gonna say, I mean, I played most of my life, and I shut my brain off when I play, and I absolutely love it. And there's a music to it, there's a rhythm to it, and is basketball. But I'm going to tell you that there's only one sport that I've ever been a head coach of. And a lot of people don't know this. But when I was living in Pennsylvania and had just graduated from Marywood University, I started coaching a team in Carbondale, Pennsylvania at their YMCA. A travel team that had no jerseys, didn't have a team name, didn't have a logo. I designed the logo, I gave us a name, and I gave each of the kids a jersey or a t-shirt that we could do.
Wow.
And that team that I still miss to this day, I get the itch. My godson plays. He's 9 years old. He scored like 8 goals in one game. The kid is left foot, right foot, doesn't matter. The only sport that I've ever been a head coach of is U12 soccer. And I would entertain coaching again because I didn't grow up with it, but I have absolutely fallen in love with it. And I thought the only sport I would ever coach is basketball. But standing on the sideline of a soccer game, I can see myself doing that, even if it was coaching kids, because it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I work in a club here where we have, the youngest is U6, U8.
Yeah.
All the way up to U23. It's cool. It's a good break from the college guys.
Yeah, and I love it. And I shouldn't even say even coach the kids. I mean, I chose the kids as young as I could get, 8 to 11, because my intent was to be with them all the way through. And then I ended up coming back to my hometown of Syracuse, and I still miss the kids, and I still have my Carbondale pride, lion on the front, Coach Dan on the back with the claw. So yeah, I definitely get the itch. And one of my best friends are my brothers, and Johnny, Noah is his son. Johnny's been coaching, and I'm like to the point of like pulling him aside and going, hey man, like I kind of feel like I want to like help out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So
hey, listen, assistant coaches roles are pretty cool.
Well, and I will say this, Paul, is
especially with youth soccer.
If I need any pointers, I know to come to you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So my final question for you, If you could have dinner, living or deceased, with any 3 soccer players in history, who would you eat with and why?
Can I answer it kind of in 2 ways?
Yeah.
Living and non-living.
Yeah.
Living, I would probably take a coach. So I would add Sir Alex Ferguson. And then I would want to have, I would then would want to sit between the 2 aliens. I'd want to sit between Ronaldo and Messi and bounce questions off the 2 of them and let Alex Ferguson kind of gang up on Messi with Ronaldo with me.
Okay.
Those would be the 3 living.
Okay.
And then I would love to be with Pele. Probably Maradona and Pele would be the 2. And then I would probably pick a coach again. I probably would want to be with, obviously everybody would probably say Cruyff might be the most popular one, but I probably would want to be with Reynes Michaels, who was probably the total football, who had the Holland team, and really probably the first coach to kind of give us total football. But those would be my ones. And now you have me thinking. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm not hungry right now, but I could definitely go to dinner with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, when you talk about that and how things come to life, and you mentioned total football and like learning about that recently, for me, and getting to see that and what that meant, like that starts to jog that up. I mean, honestly, Paul, this conversation has been barely scratching the surface of what I want to talk about. So I'm going to tell you a couple things. 1, obviously, I'd love to have you back. 2, I'd love to talk with some of your student athletes. 3, you're going to see me down in Binghamton because I have to see this team in action. And I honestly, and I don't say anything I don't mean, this has been one of the most fun things because as much as we talked about and as much as I'm like, I want to get this in and I want to get that in, I honestly feel like I barely scratched the surface. So I just asked you who you want to have dinner with. I want to have dinner with you so I can sit here and not have a time clock on it and go, all right, tell me some stories. Like
let me know when you're coming to Binghamton.
I'm a
I'd
sponge to it.
Love to grab lunch or something with you. Be great.
Let's definitely plan that out. But I mean, Paul, I think I could speak to the people watching and listening. This has been fun. It's been really cool. It's been completely unique. And I'm so happy that we got to cross paths because picking your brain and being around you, you could tell how passionate you are. And passionate people, it pulls you. And I mean, I'm really super excited for this season, and it's your fault.
Me too.
So thank you for that.
Thanks. Well, I look forward to seeing you again.
Absolutely, you too. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. Have everything you need to collect sports cards as well as trading cards. If you've never done it before, it's a great time to start. And if you have done it, it's a great time to continue. People say, why collect sports cards? Why trading cards? Because honestly, in my opinion, it keeps you a big kid. It keeps your spirit focused on something positive that builds a community. When you go out to these card shows and you go out to these trade nights, you see people that are in their 60s, their 70s, and then you have somebody come up to you who's like 9 or 10 years old, 4 years old, who's out there with their parents collecting cards. They got a favorite player. They're a Bills fan. They're a Josh Allen fan. They're a Michael Jordan fan. And it's so cool to see this just amazing thing that typically starts when you're a kid grow into people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s still collecting and bringing their kids and bringing their grandkids and bringing their girlfriends and boyfriends, bringing their brothers and sisters. It's such a unique world and it's so much fun. So people say, why do you do it? Because it brings people together. Why do you do it? Because it's fun. Why do you do it? Because it's positive. And whether you're collecting Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Of your favorite characters or Disney Lorcana because you're a big-time Disney fan, or if you're out there looking for your favorite football player, your favorite basketball team, GG Cards and Breaks is the only store that I know when it comes to sports cards and trading cards that has every single MLB, NFL, and NBA team. Their staff goes through, sifts through their cards, and finds every team and puts together those boxes. And they're not just base cards. There's some numbered cards in there, some autos, some relic cards, rookies. I found a lot of really cool things inside of those boxes. And as a Raptor, Jaguar, and Diamondback fan in Central New York, it's not easy to find my favorite teams always. But at GG Cards and Breaks it is. From packs and boxes where you can roll the dice and see what you get to singles and graded cards where you know exactly what you're buying, they have something for everyone. And they have supplies to protect your cards and help to travel them safely. GG Cards and Breaks is that one-stop shop that helps you to be a big kid, no matter what your age. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Head there Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, it's time to jump into the ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's. There's nothing like Avicolli's to me. I haven't had a bad thing When I'm picking through that menu and I'm saying I want that tortellini with shrimp on it, I want to get that margarita pizza, grandma's pie, the bread. I mean, listen, Italians know how to do bread. They know how to do bread a bunch of different ways. The bread that they put on the table, on the fine dining side, their pizza, their veal parmesan sub. So many great things at Avicolli. 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. They were open Tuesday through Sunday. They're now open 7 days a week. They added in Monday. So now you don't have to miss them for a day. Right there on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Avicolli's is open 7 days a week. You can see them on their casual pizza side, the fine dining side, as well as the bar, and weather permitting, they have outdoor seating as well. You can also connect with Avicolli's online by going to myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com, where you can order online very easily. You go to myavicollis.com, and right there it says order now. You click on it, go through the whole menu, place your order. Simple enough. You can also call 315-622-5100 for catering, takeout, and delivery. In this edition of the Ingredients to Success, proudly presented by Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, we're talking about the topic of outside noise. Outside noise. What do I mean by that? Do I mean the noise that's outside your house when your neighbors on a Saturday morning decide that they want to mow their lawn at 7 a.m.? Not that outside noise. Although that is annoying. Not that outside noise. The outside noise of people commenting on your life. The outside noise of people that think, hey, I have the right to tell you what to do. I hate the way you sing. I hate the way you look. I hate the way you talk. I hate the way you walk. I think you should run into a hole and hide. People say some terrible things on the internet, don't they? Some people say some terrible things in high schools and colleges. Some people say some terrible things at work. And we talk about that outside noise, right? Other people's opinions of us. I learned something within the past year. It was a statement that somebody made that said, another person's opinion of me is none of my business. And I also heard another thing that said, when somebody has a problem with you or says they have a problem with you, I'm air quoting that. When somebody says they have a problem with you, but they talk to everybody else and they don't address you, they don't have a problem with you. They love talking about you because they're riding on your coattails, right? I'm not going to talk directly to this person and handle this privately. I'm going to publicly try to shame this person and make this person feel bad. And when I do this, when I tell everybody that I have a problem with this person, instead of talking to this person, respecting this person enough to talk to them, do I really have a problem with them? Or do I just like the amount of attention that I get speaking about this person? You know, people show their true colors. They do. You know, people know if I talk about someone that has some notoriety, then I'm going to have some notoriety. I hate this actress, but I'm going to say all these horrible things about her, and I'm going to tag her in it, and then her followers are going to respond to me, and whether they like me or not, or it's positive or not, I feel seen. That's people that don't want to be famous. They want to be infamous. They want to be... They don't care if it's positive or negative. They just want somebody to make them feel like they're seen. And that's a really sad and dangerous person. The people that just do things for the hope that they'll cause some trouble, right? People that go after people's profession or go after them professionally or after their work in hopes of getting publicity and destroying or tearing somebody down. See, If you're a hard worker and you're dedicated to the things that matter to you, you don't try to tear people down. If you're a hard worker, you're not a part of cancel culture because you don't even know what it is, because you're working too hard and you're out there living your life. People that are actually living are not canceling anything. People that are actually living are not attacking people. And if you have time to attack someone on social media, but you don't have time to talk to them on the phone or in person, what are you saying? And I think a lot of people in today's day and age live in fear. They live in fear of these people that are the outside noisers, the people that want you to not like yourself, the people that want to bring you down, because something inside of them is broken and they want to break things. And what people don't realize is when you're broken inside and you seek to break things, if you succeed in that, it doesn't repair you. Breaking someone else does not repair you. Does anybody know that? Breaking somebody else does not repair. If you're a broken lamp and you break another lamp, you have two broken lamps. You don't. The first lamp doesn't get repaired by the second lamp breaking. That's common sense. What repairs a broken lamp is glue and time, not breaking another one. What repairs a broken lamp is glue and time. Well, time makes sense, figuratively and literally, but what's the glue? The glue is the experience. The glue is the lesson. The thing that puts us back together, God, our loved ones. The thing that puts us back together, knowledge, wisdom, growth. Understanding where we came from so that we don't go back there. Not everything in history is positive, but if you erase it, you're doomed to repeat it. If you erase history, then essentially you're lying to people. World War II was a terrible time, but you can't erase it and hope to gain anything positive from that. Slavery was awful, but if you erase it, then you can't hope to gain anything positive about it. If you don't know where you've been, you have no idea where you're going. If you don't know what you've been through, how can you move forward? Jerry says the lawnmower at 7 a.m. is more annoying than somebody's opinion to me, and I agree with you, Jer, because I'm trying to night-night, right? I'm trying to nap it up. So if you got your lawnmower going that early in the morning, I'm going to have a little bit of issue with that. I understand how hot it's been lately, so some people want to get their lawnmower going early so that they don't have to deal with the heat. And I respect that, and I can appreciate that, but on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, people are sleeping. Sometimes Saturday is the only day that anybody gets to sleep, because if you go to church on Sunday, you're going at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., noon. But this outside noise, right? And what people don't understand when they're screaming at you, either on social media, where many people go because they're cowards, or when they have the decency to sit down with you and talk to you like a human being, which seems more rare these days, or talk to you on the phone. When people come at you with this outside noise, 9 times out of 10, when they're screaming and yelling and ranting and raving, their selfishness blinds them from seeing that you're not being heard, but they want to be heard. You're not being understood, but they want to be understood. You're not being respected, but they want respect. And a lot of people, out of fear, don't say anything because they're afraid. They're afraid of how this person's going to react on social media. They're afraid how this person's going to react in public. They're afraid how this person is going to react in text message. And you can't live your life in fear. The reality of it all is when you call someone out on things that are happening, in your gut, in your stomach, you're like, oh my gosh, what if they hear it? Oh my gosh, what if they know? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But they know deep down inside. You know, you go back to asking athletes if they take steroids, right? Stating like, oh, this, you know, you took steroids, this or that. And if you didn't, you just go, no, I didn't. But if you scream, "Oh, I can't believe you would say that, F you, da, da, da," that makes you look guilty. That makes you look guilty. When people lash out and people freak out and can't control their emotions, how many times have you seen somebody who doesn't control their emotions well end up looking like the good guy? Right? Sometimes you could be absolutely, positively right. But if you lose your cool, you look wrong. See, in life, diplomacy, which we don't see a lot with diplomats, which is kind of ironic and ridiculous and sad, but diplomacy is imperative. Being able to sit down with someone who wants to attack you and you go back to them and constructively criticize you and them, right? You sit at the table and they say you, and you go, how about us? How about us? Because you're trying to get things done. Now, diplomacy's definition is the profession, activity, or skill of managing international relations, typically by a country's representative abroad. It also means the art of dealing with people in a sensitive and effective way. Diplomacy. The art of dealing with people. See that? It doesn't say the art of living with people, the art of working with people. It says the art of dealing with people. So it says in the definition, like, okay, this might, because when you hear dealing with people, you think, okay, this is probably a problem, right? Dealing with people sounds negative. It sounds like, okay, obviously this person's causing an issue, but diplomacy is the art of dealing with people in a sensitive and effective way. Dealing with people in a sensitive and effective way. So when somebody tells you, and I heard this growing up all the time because I have emotion and I care about people, people would say you're too sensitive. Somebody would hurt me and say, I didn't really hurt you, you're just too sensitive. I didn't really hurt you, you just have a lot of emotion. That is what people today would call gaslighting, but that's not a word that existed when I was a kid. There's so many ways to manipulate and gaslight and twist. But diplomacy, dealing with people in a sensitive and effective way. Sensitive, emotion, bonding with them, being vulnerable, and yet effective. Vulnerable, but also being able to get something done. It's funny that in my life of 38 years, people that have had problem or issue with me to bring things up, be it true or not, 9 times out of 10, the people that kind of want to make you look bad, you have the factual evidence to bury them. 9 times out of 10, growing up as a kid and even as an adult, the people that were the most vicious and rude, you typically have the ability to bury them. And it's insane to me. I always look at that and I go, why would this person of all people attack me when they know that I know what I know? And it's because people that gaslight and people that are negative and people that love to scream this outside noise, they think they're untouchable. They've pathologically, narcissistically told themselves that they are the cure. Did you ever go on social media and you do something you're really proud of and somebody goes, quit this right now, you suck at it? They think that they're the end-all be-all. They're the stamp, right? If they tell you that your movie sucks, you're supposed to quit being an actor. If they tell you that they don't like your voice, you're supposed to stop broadcasting. If they tell you that you didn't write a good story, you're supposed to now go work as a chef behind the scenes because you can't tell stories according to these people. You know, a lot of people have a lot of opinions. It's outside noise. But something that I came up with a while back that I said to myself and I said on the show and it stuck with me was Outside noise, by definition, belongs outside, so put it where it belongs. Outside noise belongs outside, by definition. It's not inside noise, but we let outside noise inside all the time. Somebody says something mean about us. Somebody tries to hurt our feelings, we bring it in. You suck at your job, we bring it in. You're not a good kisser, we bring it in. You don't know how to love me, we bring it in. You don't make enough money, we bring it in. You're not a man, you're not a woman, you're not strong enough, you're not good enough, we bring it in. And typically when someone tries to hurt you, they attack your femininity or your masculinity. Right? When someone's walking out the door, they want you to feel ugly, fat, stupid, unattractive. They want to make it so if you're going to leave, they want to control you enough to say, if I'm not going to be with you, nobody's going to be with you. Right? When a boss says to you, if you leave this place, I'll make sure you never work in this town again. Right? They want you to think your options are put up with their BS or never work again. They don't want you to think there's another option where God guides you and navigates you through this and reminds you that no one is God. No one can keep you from forever. 99.9% of the time I deal with someone who is selfish, mean, rude, egotistical, narcissistic. No matter how long it takes, it comes across my desk again. And somebody will come up to me and say, have you ever met this person? I can't believe I dealt with this person. They were selfish, mean, nasty, rude, and narcissistic. And you sit there and you go, wow, that's interesting. Because they don't know that you know that person. And a lot of times I just sit and listen. And I go, oh, okay. They did what? Okay. And I'm sitting there the whole time saying to myself, yeah, that's what they did to me. Yeah, that's what they did to my friend. Yeah, that's what they did to that person in business. Yeah, that's how they treated people. I already know, but I'm not sharing that because to me, I don't find value in personally attacking. And it's funny because I'm a broadcaster. I talk about life experiences. I do comedy. I talk about life experiences. Your life experiences help you to learn things, and how dare somebody put you through hell and then tell you you can't talk about it? Sounds very Ike Turner, but when you go through hell, the important thing to remember is that the people that are trying to put you through that, it's outside noise. Anything outside of yourself. See, I grew up thinking whatever my mom and my dad said, if it was mean, if it was disrespectful, I had to believe it. And I'm not saying that my parents did this. I'm just saying I felt like I had to believe everything because they were my parents. And then you grow up and you're like, well, me and my dad don't agree on this, but we agree on this. And the fact that we don't agree on this, like, I don't really want to hear his, him and I are different in this world. And there's things that are like that, right? You can love somebody to pieces, but there's things that are different. My mom and I handle certain things similarly and certain things differently. And outside noise is anything outside of you. It's not inside noise if it's from your immediate family. It's not inside noise if it's from your best friend. It's not inside noise if it's from your partner, your wife, your husband. Everything outside of you is outside noise. Some of us have great partners. Some of us have great wives and husbands and girlfriends and boyfriends and fiancés. Some of us don't. Some of us have great parents and some of us don't. Some of us have great leadership and guidance and mentorship, and some of us don't. Some of us have friends that are great advice givers, and some of us have friends that are drama queens and kings. And all of that is outside noise. I had a conversation with somebody recently, and they said, what do you do when a friend is acting a fool? I said, you stop hanging out with them. It's as simple as that. Well, but they integrate themselves in everything. So what? God gave you your body, your mind, your heart, your soul. You don't have to stay in that place. Just because they're there doesn't mean you have to be there. Well, we're going to be in the same place because we both work here. We both have the same friend. Maybe it's your sister or your brother. Like, we're going to sit at the dinner table together. But it doesn't mean that that person has any control over you. You might be in the same room, but you dictate how much you talk to those people. You dictate how much you take from those people. And you have to tune it out. I mean, I remember I sat at a table for many years with people that were very narcissistic, selfish, and very, very mean. And sometimes it was attacking me. Sometimes it was attacking someone else at the table. Sometimes it was attacking a stranger. But the consistency was this person thought there was nothing wrong with what they were doing. And anybody who went against them, they just raised holy hell. They were dramatic and mean and selfish. And I kept saying to myself, like, if I'm around this person, I'm going to have a heart attack. And then I thought to myself, even when I'm around them, I don't have to talk to them. Even when I'm around them, I can find different ways. Like if we're sitting in a room of 8 people, I don't have to address them. I can address the room. And if they say something stupid, I can continue to talk to the room. I don't have to just sit with them. You know, is someone holding a gun to your head saying you have to go in this room and be with this person by yourself? No, then, okay. I hope nobody ever does that 99.9% of the time. That's not what happens in life. So when you come across people that are toxic and narcissistic and selfish and rude, 99.9% of the time, they see that in you. It's called projection. I did a whole thing about it in general psychology in college. My roommate was really good at it. Projection is when someone sees their faults, but in order to not have to feel the pain of them and feel the angst of them and the guilt of them, they see their faults, but they put it on someone else. So they take everything they're doing and then they pick someone and they put it on that person. Typically, I would say it's a person who is probably very good to them because they know that they can try and manipulate that person and they know that that person's not the person to lash back out. But projection is, I've admitted my faults, but I don't count them as my own. I admit my faults, but I gave them to someone else, and I yell at you about my faults in order to face them without facing them. And, you know, I've had moments in life, I think a lot of us had, where we're afraid to speak our mind because we're afraid, what if somebody hears it? What if somebody sees it? What if somebody sniffs it out? And the reality is, well, what's the truth? You're afraid that they'll hear what? A lie? No, the truth. Well, if they hear how I really feel, and they hear how they hurt people, what if they try to hurt me more? What if they bring an army against me? Everyone's afraid of an army, right? In today's world, we're all afraid of an army. But the only armies that really matter are the ones that fought in World War I and World War II, in the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. Those are armies. Social media is not an army. A girl with her posse is not an army. A guy with his boys is not an army. An army stands for good things. An army that's a posse or an army that's a bunch of blind followers that will hate anybody that you hate, or a social media army, those aren't real armies because they're not necessarily out for the good of anything. They're just out to complain. And I think that people struggle when you call them out. And I think the thing that I find funny is when I talk about life and I talk about instances, I'm taking from different moments. I could be speaking on one topic, but thinking about a person from when I was 6, when I was 24, when I'm 38, and I'm pulling this. But a guilty conscience, a person will hear somebody talk about something that they know. They'll know what they did to that person, and they'll flip out, which is an admission of guilt. Because why get mad? I said this before on the show. I said, if I wrote a post on Facebook that said rapists are bad people, and someone responded, I can't believe you said that, I'm so pissed off. If you're not a rapist, why does that offend you? So being offended by a pretty clear statement that attacking someone in any way, shape, or form is wrong. And going after people in a violent way is wrong. And someone goes, I can't believe you would say that. I'm mad about that. Why are you mad? Is your friend one? Are you one? Because why does that offend you? So the offensive thing to me is a lot of people in today's world that are negative and are perpetuating this outside noise, they won't shut up. But the people that are good people that they're talking about, they have good hearts. And I think there's a misconception when somebody sits, and I'm thinking about some other broadcasters right now, but when somebody sits down and they call out something that's wrong, they call out something that's selfish and narcissistic, that's gaslighting, that's rude, that person gets attacked by the people that did that to them, which is an admission by those people that they were the problem. And while this person's trying to address the problem, you're attacking them again and playing a victim. I can't believe you brought up what I did to you, right? I feel like if my ex-wife was sitting in the room with me right now, she would say, hey, sometimes on your show, you brought up being married and you brought up the hell you went through. Why would you say that about us? That was our life. And I would say, yes, but that experience with you taught me a lot of things. And I had to heal from it. I had to grow from it. And maybe there's somebody watching or listening today that's going through that. Maybe there's somebody watching or listening today that thinks that they have to stay in a marriage that's not healthy. And maybe I can help them see life beyond. My intentions on the show are never to hurt anybody. My intentions on the show are never to put anybody down. My intentions on the show are not to out anybody, hence why I don't name names. My intention on my show is to talk about real life things. And unfortunately, we live in a society right now where the people that scream the loudest are the ones that want you to shut up. The people that are the most vile want you to be nice. The people that are most selfish want you to be selfless. The people that want you to understand them don't seek to understand anybody. The people that are always right want you to tell them that you're wrong. And that, to me, is something I have to stick up for. We have to discuss that. We have to talk about that. I'm not on here screaming and whining, but to a person that hurts you, a comedian talking about it on a stage, that person is screaming and whining. To a broadcaster that talks about things that have happened in my life that I've had to learn from and grow from and heal from, if I talk about those problems, that person who created those problems, if they catch the show, they're going to lose their mind and they're going to get angry. Instead of taking a step back and saying, what is this man or woman saying? Are they saying, I hate this person that did this to me? Are they even mentioning my name? Are they mentioning where I live? Are they giving any thought that this is me? Now, people that knew my ex-wife, when I say ex-wife, I've only had one ex-wife, so, I never intended to have one ex-wife. I tried for many years, but certain things are forgivable, but that doesn't mean that you get, what does it say? Forgiveness doesn't mean access. So there's things that I stand for in life that were not being done on the other side. And there's things that I consider to be paths of no return. Does that mean I'm perfect? No. I've admitted it on the show openly. I was trying to build my company, and my hours, like now, my hours are all over the place, and I feel like I've gotten a better control of it, better hand on it than I did back then. But she didn't understand why I was working outside of the hours of 9 to 5. And I should have understood that even though I was working 12 to 12 at times, the thing that I could do midnight to midnight, or, you know, the thing that I could do was to put my phone down and have dinner, you know. And that's the great thing about it, is as much as I talk about the strife and the lessons and the pain of my marriage, I also, if my ex-wife ever listened, I've also said that she's given me tremendously good advice. She has given me advice that I use to this day. And I pray for her, and I pray for her family. So as much as she hurt me, and there's times where I'm sure I hurt her, right? There's those back and forth moments of I can be better. I said something not nice. She said something not nice. She did something. I did something. You know, I think the best thing about healing is that I can pray the best for someone that's not the best for me. And I want to see her, like seeing her smile, as long as she's not hurting anybody, seeing her smile would make me smile. She didn't make me smile toward the end. But if I saw her smile today and she was genuinely happy, I would be really happy for her. And that to me is what a lot of people don't see things through on to the other side. Because people knee jerk, right? They knee jerk reaction. If you've hurt somebody, whether they have a broadcasted show, or they are a comedian, or they're just talking to their friends and family, people talk. And people don't necessarily tell the truth. And I always tell people that if you're going to open your mouth, make sure you're telling the truth. Because if it ever comes back to you and you lied, you're going to have some explaining to do. I've sat in meetings with people that made promises to me, and I want to believe them. But they've never done it. Or they've done it sparingly. And I say, okay, I'm going to give them another shot. And they immediately let you down. And so, you know, people say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. A lot of us are in the 4th time, the 8th time, the 300th time, and we're like, well, who is it now? If second was shame on me, I let these people fool me for the last 18 years. What am I supposed to do? And I think when you grow up like I did, Catholic and believing in God, honoring who made you, we have this forgiveness, right? That, I mean, it's literally in the Our Father. It says, forgive us our sins as we forgive those who have sinned against us. We literally say to God, please forgive us the same way that we forgive other people that sin against us. Treat us exactly how we treat them. Treat us as a sinner the way we treat them as a sinner. So what that means is if we don't forgive other people, we're literally asking God in the Our Father to not forgive us. If we hold grudges, we're asking God to hold grudges against us. If we seek revenge, we're asking God to seek revenge against us. We're literally saying to God, whatever these people did to us that was wrong, treat us the same way that we react to them. Treat us the same way. And I'm very self-reflective. I told my dad one time in a conversation, I said, Dad, I'm blatantly honest with myself. He goes, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. He said, no, you're not. No human being is. And I said, well, that's your opinion. But I am. And when I say that I'm extremely self-reflective, if I do something that I'm totally okay with doing and somebody responds in a negative way and says, you hurt me, I will go back through it. And I'll say, okay, what did I say? What did I do? If I had the chance to make the choice again, would I make the same choice or would I do something different? I check myself. Not everybody does that because not everybody wants to be wrong. But there are plenty of times that I've been wrong. And I think, and it's interesting because I think about that too on the show. I'm like, I'm a broadcaster. We do the annoying moment of the week. We do lead, learn, evolve, ad lib, and deliver. We do the top dog of the week. We do the ingredients to success, which we're doing right now. And these segments open me up to beyond sports. And the show itself, I've dedicated to Wake Up Call being exactly what the tagline says, which is where sports meets life. So I've said to myself before, like, should I have talked about that personal thing? Should I have mentioned that relationship? Should I have mentioned that interaction with someone in the media? And then you think about the other side of it and you say, okay, well, what if somebody mentioned you? Would you be okay with it? And then I said to myself, well, that all depends on how you treat people. If you're good to people, then somebody mentioning you on their show, if they told the truth, is only good. Because you say, like, okay, so you talk about situations. What if somebody talked about your experience? Didn't mention you by name, but they talked about their experience with you. And then I sat here and I thought to myself, maybe I wouldn't like that, right? Because now I'm flipping it on myself. But then I thought to myself, well, if their experience with me is me trying to act as close as I can to what God would want me to do and being loving and caring, then go ahead and talk about me. It is only when you do something wrong that you don't want someone to talk about you. It is the gut, right? And like I had somebody do something to me that I would never do to anybody. And they told me, because of you, I can't show my face anywhere. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, I know that you've probably told people about your side of the story. And I said, the truth. And I was like, what you did is what you did. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. I found it. I caught it. I questioned it. I looked at it. And other people saw it. So I took an outside eyes and said, okay, outside eyes of someone that I trust that's not going to share this with anybody. What do you think? And I look back on that, and that person wanted me to feel guilty, not because of what they did, but because I shared it with people. Because I said, this is why I don't associate with this person anymore. And so it wasn't their sin. It wasn't their wrong. It was that it was public. So instead of feeling bad for what they did to someone, they felt angry that someone didn't keep it to themselves. And then I thought to myself, should I have kept it to myself? And then I thought, I didn't need to tell everybody I told, but I needed to tell the people closest to me. I didn't need to tell strangers. I didn't need to tell a new person in my life. I didn't need to tell this person or that person. But that's where you realize the access of information. And I think we all have to learn it, and I've learned it, is the access of information. How much information do you give? When you talk to people, do you give the same amount of information to your best friend that you give to a stranger on the street? Because there were many moments in my life where I did. I would tell a total stranger what I would tell my mom. And it's like, you don't know if you can trust that person with that information. Also, there's the reality that the people that you talk to, if you keep that group small, if anything leaks out, you're like, okay, I told 3 people. So it's one of these 3 people. If you told 20 people, you might never figure it out. And do I feel bad when I talk about certain things and look back on it? Yeah, I would say I do. Not regretful, but I feel bad. Like, I didn't need to say that. You know? I didn't need to do that. If I did this to someone, would I want somebody to say this? And I think it's difficult because this show is very therapeutic for me. You know, I had somebody tell me before, they're like, hey, you know, when I listen to your show, it's like you're my Syracuse therapist. Like, if the team is struggling, you know, I lay on your couch and, you know, I lay on the couch figuratively while I listen to your show, and you help me through my problems. And I think in the same respect, I've come to this show many times. And I mean, the day that my ex-wife and I decided this was done, the day I decided it was done, I don't know what she thought, but I was done. I went on the show the next day. You know, and people might have said, how? And my response is, because nobody gets to control me. And no one's going to make me feel like I don't belong and I don't exist and I don't matter. And yet I look back on that and I'm like, you know, I talked about stuff. And I was broad because people didn't respond to it. But then there are other times where people are like, oh, wow, you know, they did respond to that. But over time, people that have really hurt me, for whatever reason, will come and listen to the show. And on that day, at that time, it just so had, whether that's the devil or it's God, you know, and they'll say, why did you say that? I can't believe you said that. And my head's like, I wouldn't be able to say anything if you didn't do that. And they're like, yeah, but keep it to yourself. And I would say, who are you to tell me what I can do? Who is a person that shoots somebody in the chest? Why do they get the right to tell that person what to do with the bullet? And I think in life, none of us are perfect. And people can talk about anybody. I think, you know, people could talk about me. They could talk about you. And at one point, you did something wrong. But that outside noise of people's opinions and their thoughts and their threats, it seems to really rule people today. People are afraid. People are afraid to ruffle feathers. Think about the crazy things that are happening in our society. And they're happening because people don't want to ruffle feathers. Think about all of the things that teachers go through now, and whether or not they agree with them, they look like they agree with them because they're not stopping them and they continue to work. If I was a parent right now, I'm sure there'd be a teacher out there that wouldn't be too fond of the fact that I would not be really happy with the things that are in schools now. When I was in school, bullying ran rampant, and it felt like there was no end to it. Now in schools, there's this don't be a bully, accept everybody, but that's now turned into, if you don't agree with me, I get to lash out at you. And if I play a victim and I cry, I could be the bully and the victim. And I've told people this forever. You can't be the victim and the perpetrator. You can't hold the gun and have the bullet from that gun in your chest. I'm not talking about two people with guns shooting at each other. I'm saying if I've been in relationships where they shoot you with a figurative gun, you're on the ground bleeding, and they're holding the gun going, why did you shoot yourself? And you're like, who's going to believe you? You're holding the gun right now. It's smoking. The bullet's in my body. And you're saying, why did you shoot yourself? I didn't shoot myself. You shot me. And they say, yeah, well, it's your story against mine. And the fear that we live in today has been bred from a lot of it with social media of people, you know, as soon as they put a dislike button out there on YouTube, and as soon as they put comments out there, right? I mean, can you imagine? Like, okay, take me for example. I don't have any human children, right? Because Lily to me is my dog, you know, and Lily, she's the best. And I consider her my kid. Not in a weird way, not in a strange way, not in a way I need to describe to you way. She's my kid. If you don't like it, she's still my kid. If you laugh, she's still my kid. If you think I'm crazy, she's still my kid. I don't care what you think, because it is not hurting you or me that I call her my kid. She acts that way. I treat her that way. If she was a dog that didn't have this like crazy connection to me, I wouldn't talk about it, but she does. And I thank God for it every millisecond of my life. And I could do a better job of thanking God more for it and spending more time with the goose. But let's say I had my first human baby, right? Had my first child, 38 years old. So let's say 2 years from now, I'm 40, I have my first kid. And I've been waiting my whole life to be a dad. And I go on Facebook and I post a picture of me and my son. And someone goes, wow, your son looks just like you, ugly as hell. Who does that? Someone who hates themselves. The people that are like, oh my gosh, I go online all the time and I just see pictures of babies. Oh my God, we get it, your baby, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why would that make you mad? It's a happy thing. I never see someone's picture of their baby and go, oh my gosh, another baby? That's like me going to the zoo and going, there's one giraffe, there's two, okay, there's five, we get it. Oh my, they had a baby, whatever, we get. Why are you mad? It's a giraffe. Why are you upset? You know what I mean? There's nothing to be mad about. And there's certain things that I feel like people would never comment on, but I've been the messenger of news. Like, I've broken news before, plenty of times. And I had someone say, if it came from you, I'm not going to believe it. It has to come from this place or these three people. Then the news ended up being 1,000% accurate, and that person didn't retract, didn't apologize, just carried on their merry way, because that's what people do. Not everybody, but some. And it's outside noise. I get really excited when I break news, but I now am old enough and experienced enough to know that when I break something, it's going to be hopefully well watched, listened to, and read. And it's also going to be questioned, chastised, and stolen. I don't know if I've broken any news in the last recent years that hasn't been stolen, hasn't been scrutinized, or I haven't been personally attacked for sharing information. That's free, that you don't have to pay for. And, you know, if you look at life and you look at the access of information and people's access to each other, it's easy to get stressed. But I don't write the stories for your opinions. I don't tell stories about my life to hurt people. If I lead with love and I lead with pure intentions and a good heart, then I have nothing to apologize for. Now, if I came on the show and said, yeah, I talked about this experience with a friend because I wanted to hurt them because they hurt me, then I have to check myself and say, you should have said it differently, or you should have not said it at all. And there's been moments where I've sat here and said, I didn't need to say it, or I didn't need to say it that way. But when somebody goes out and says, I shared something about my life and I'm afraid because the person that hurt me, I'm afraid of what they're going to say, I'm afraid of what they're going to do, you should never be afraid of anybody else. And when you're afraid of someone, you're admitting the fact that that person has some control over you. And you're also admitting the fact that that person maybe good to everybody else, but to you, they were a nightmare. They were a monster. Because you're not afraid of good things, I would hope. And, this outside noise, it belongs outside. By definition, outside noise doesn't come inside. It's not from the inside. But in the world that we live in today, we are inundated constantly with information. And the thing that I feel terrible about with kids is that if you get bullied in school, people can follow you home. They can follow you home in everything that you do. They could be there with you at all times. And I feel bad for those kids. But people do it at work now. And people do it in the media. People do it with the news media. I mean, I never thought that I'd live in a world where, like, one media outlet would attack another media outlet and one broadcaster would attack another broadcaster publicly, look right into the camera and, like, by name call somebody out. It's like, why? If you don't agree with that person, why give them any airtime? Now, I got a question here from a very interesting Syracuse fan name here, Garbage Taker Outer. Dan, what do you think Syracuse's football record is going to be this year? I have stated months ago that 8-4 is a record I feel good about saying, but I do think Syracuse could get to a couple more. You got to keep in mind that the team is different, right? The guys that came back, they're bigger, they're stronger. There's a different look of the team of the returners. There's a different feel and air. The alumni are welcome back in, and I've been banging that drum for over a decade with Rob Drummond and plenty of alumni. And they're recruiting locally. I bang that drum forever and a day. So, I mean, Fran in just a few months, going into the transfer portal, getting Kyle McCord, getting, some of these guys to flip like Yassine Willis from Pittsburgh to Syracuse at running back. The moves that Fran has done in the transfer portal with freshmen, with guys returning, there's a lot of excitement around that. And it provides a different look to the team. Alumni being around provides a different look to the team. Recruiting locally provides a different look to the team. His faith in God, which him and I talk about a lot on and off camera, and care about family, my family, his family, everybody's family. That also is something that I'm paying a lot of attention to. So, what do I think the record can be? I would say safely 8-4, but I think that 1 to 2 more wins could end up happening. And I appreciate the question. And I'd love to know what you think, Garbage Taker Outer. I mean, do you think Syracuse can do this, or what are your thoughts? But to get back to the ingredients to success, and I always appreciate the questions, and I appreciate the viewers, the listeners, and the readers. The ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli. Just remember, folks, that outside noise belongs outside. Because as much as people are hyped about Fran, the moment that this team fumbles the ball, Kyle McCord throws an interception, Fran doesn't manage a timeout well, someone's going to complain. Because people love to complain. Not everybody, but the miserable ones. And that outside noise, it's hard. It's hard. And people say, Dan, you're a broadcaster. You signed up for this. You signed up to be around the media with their cutthroat ways. You decided to be, in the public where anybody can say anything about your show and comment on your show and everything's public. When a player or a coach, you signed up for this. We didn't sign up for this. We didn't sign up for this. We signed up to chase our dreams. The fact that there's knuckleheads that follow us while we chase our dreams like leeches, that's not something that we signed up for. It wasn't in the job description. It's part of it. But in the world we live in today, because of social media, we live in a world where it doesn't matter what your job profession is. It doesn't matter who you date. It doesn't matter if you live on a deserted island. If you have Wi-Fi, anybody could say anything. So, think about it. People listen to Diddy's music. Then this stuff starts rumbling about Diddy. And then people start talking about it. And then thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people around the world have an opinion of Diddy, and 99.9% of those people have never met him. Think about the Kardashians. They have a TV show. They thought, hey, we're going to have a TV show, make some money. This is good for us. We're the family that got asked to do it. No other family did. How cool is this? The more money they make, the more shows that they do, the more time they've been on the air, the more people have opinions of them. But almost nobody knows them personally. I don't like the show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but I don't hate them as people. I joke about stuff. I joke back and forth, but I pray that they have just as good of a life as me, my mom, my dad, my dog. I don't wish anything bad, and I don't wish anything less for them. I don't pray anything less for them. People say, if you are in the public eye, you signed up for it. Fran Brown signed up for scrutiny, and he signed up for positivity. No, he signed up to coach a football team. He signed up to help young men become good people. He signed up to help them become good fathers, to open themselves up to a faith in God, to at least hear about it, learn about it, make their own decisions. He signed up to teach them how to be responsible. He signed up to be a father figure to those that don't have fathers. He signed up to be a parental figure to those that don't have parents. He signed up to be a big brother to those that don't have that. When Fran Brown signed up to be a head coach, he signed up to help people grow on and off the field. He didn't sign up for your BS. He didn't sign up for your scrutiny. He didn't sign up for your social media attacks. He didn't sign up for memes and GIFs of him. He didn't sign up for you to carry him through the streets, and he didn't sign up for you to mock him. He signed up to help young men. He signed up to do something that he loves doing. That's what he signed up for. And when people say you signed up for this scrutiny, that's just somebody trying to justify what they're about to say. I think I could have gone a lot easier on the movie Thor: Love and Thunder in our entertainment show, Superpowered Pop. I said it was a terrible, horrendous movie. And I probably shouldn't have said that. I said it in the moment. I said it kind of like I didn't like the movie, but I was also joking. But then I took a step back and I was like, I didn't need to say those words. I could have just been like, I didn't like it. Because what I fully believe is I don't think any of those actors set out to make a bad movie. I don't think the director, the producer, the executive producer, the screenwriters, I don't think the lighting director, the set designers, I don't think the costume designers, I don't think anybody was like, hey, let's make a really crappy movie. Let's make the worst movie we can possibly make. I think everybody sets out to make a good movie. I think that some Disney propaganda affected that movie. And you can't blame a screenwriter for that unless the screenwriter was like, yeah, I'm cool to do it. Let's do it. I mean, did they fight it or not? But people ask me, do you like this show? Do you like that show? Most of the time I don't watch. And they say, why? And I say, because I'm working. When you're a creator, you don't you don't sit there and chastise everyone else that's creating. That's not what creators do. That's what bullies do. That's what broken people do. I may not agree with, okay, let's use an example. I may not agree with everything that Skip Bayless has ever said. But there might be a moment in time where I'm like, yeah, I agree with that point. And that's where I feel like we've kind of lost ourselves as humanity, is that if we agree with you on 97 things, but not on the 98th, we can't be friends. Or if we agree with you in one area, but we disagree with you everywhere else, we can't admit that to you because we have to stay enemies. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think anybody agrees on everything all the time. I'm going to say that again. I don't believe that everyone agrees with everyone about everything all the time. Dino and I, in my opinion, and I would think in his opinion, based on what he said to me, have a really good relationship. I wanted him to recruit locally and welcome in the alumni. He didn't do that. But we had a really good relationship. And I would like to think we still have one and always will. So there's an example right there. We have a good relationship, but we don't agree on two things that I agree, that I care so passionately about, and he apparently didn't. But it didn't make us unable to work together. It didn't make us not have a friendship. It didn't make us not have a professional working relationship. We disagreed, but we respected each other. And as much as he didn't do the things that I was hoping would happen, I always wanted him to win. And I always will want him to win because I want the best for everybody. And that's just me. So the overall theme of outside noise, what are the ingredients to success? Well, number one, leave it outside. Number two, consider the source, is what my mom and dad always said to me. Consider the source. If someone's going to viciously attack you, publicly or secretively, I don't really think you need to listen to their advice. And there was something I said to somebody, I was having a conversation a couple days ago, and they said to me, they were talking to me about something, and I said, I can't take credit for this because I didn't create it, but I can share it. And what I can share with you is I read somewhere that somebody said, would you take advice, or why would you take criticism from someone you would never take advice from? Think about that. Why would you take criticism from somebody that you would never take advice from? It's a fair question. Would we take advice from no name, no picture, social media people? Big Booty 3000 hates my guts. Well, Big Booty 3000's opinion doesn't matter. Well, it should. Why should it matter? And what if they do show their face? And what if they do have their name out there? They're a total stranger to you. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are mad in today's world, and I think the anger is misplaced. I think a lot of people are angry, but they have misplaced anger. You know, I can't pay my bills, and then they go on Facebook and they're fuming on the fact that they can't afford their bills because of inflation, and then they see somebody supporting the current president, and they lose their mind on this total stranger. And this total stranger has nothing to do with that president. They like the president. You are not fond of the president's decisions because of inflation. And so you end up fighting with a total stranger and you make a total stranger cry. Where's the benefit to you? After you make that stranger cry and you get off of Facebook, you still don't have enough money to pay your bills. And now you're not a nice person. So now you have two problems. Now you owe somebody an apology and you can't pay your bills. So leave the outside noise outside by definition. Don't take criticism from people that you wouldn't take advice from. understand that 99.9% of the time, you're allowing yourself to be affected by people who don't genuinely care about you or your well-being. And I don't want to associate with anybody that doesn't care about my well-being. I could be 100% wrong, but the way that you talk to me, the way that you treat me, if you don't care about my well-being, if I died today and you wouldn't even shrug at it, then what does your opinion matter to me? And so that's the other thing. Consider the source, like my parents always say. And this way that this person is treating you, would you ever imagine treating somebody that way, let alone treat somebody that way? See, because the majority of the time that we're affected by people's thoughts and actions toward us, or not even toward us, just things that we see. You know, I'm a proud Catholic. I am a proud Christian. My relationship with God goes beyond the church. I am not bound to the church. I'm bound to my relationship with God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And do I agree with everything that the Catholic Church does? No. Do I agree with all the rules that they have? No. But I love God. And that is number one to me. So when I see people attack Catholics and Christians and people that believe in God, it's hard for me to not take that personally and not feel that attack on all of us because we're one family. And the person that they're attacking is a total stranger, but I want to go be on that college campus and sit next to them and go, hey, I got you. Like, just put my hand on their back and be like, bro, you're not alone. You're not going to do this by yourself. So you have to consider the source. You have to understand that when somebody is mean to you, especially unprovoked, that person 99.9% of the time is doing that to more than one person. You know, I don't know if I've had an instance in my life outside of maybe one. I can't even think of it. But when somebody has done something to me that's not great, that it hasn't come back to me that they've done it to other people. Like someone who's really lazy. And I'm like, why is this person so lazy? Like, why is it so hard to get this? Like, why there's like these simple things and I'm bending over backwards and I'm doing all this stuff. And they would complain if I didn't do this, but then they never respond to it. And then you have somebody come up to you and you go, oh my gosh, it's a commonplace thing that everybody knows that this person doesn't do their job. And you're like, wow, okay. Because it feels like they just hate my guts. And it's like, no, they don't hate your guts. They just don't want to do it. And they'll lip service. Most people will lip service. So, I mean, outside noisers, a lot of y'all just talk. You ain't doing it. And it's funny because no matter how much you do to an outside noiser, it's never enough. If I have 100 people watching, it should be 1,000. If I have 1,000, it should be 10,000. If it's 10,000, it should be 1,000,000. If I work with 20 businesses, I should work with 40 businesses. If I'm a Fortune 500 company, if I'm in the top 20, I should be in the top 10. And those people are people that I never end up having friendships with, and I honestly stop working with, or I'd never start. Because outside noisers are really just not happy. And you say, Dan, aren't you an outside noiser? Like, you have opinions on stuff. Yeah, but my opinions, and yes, I have to check myself, and no, I haven't always been right in how I've carried it or how I've delivered the message. But I look at my life and I say to myself, if Syracuse is not running the ball well, I am never going to attack LaQuint Allen. I am never going to attack Yassine Willis. I am not going to attack the coaching. Like, we're going to discuss it. I may not agree with it, but we're going to discuss it. There's a way to talk about people constructively and not destructively. And I think a lot of people don't know that art, or they just don't want to practice that art because they like the drama. Because again, what did I say earlier on? People enjoy talking about people, not because they're seeking a solution. If they were seeking a solution, they would go to the person directly. But people like talking about people because it gets them attention. They say they hate you. They say they don't like you. But they need you to start a conversation. Your name is their icebreaker. Wow, that's a compliment to you. Your name is their icebreaker. So the next time that there's outside noise coming at you, I want you to remember where to leave it. I want you to remember how much God loves you. And I want you to remember that whatever is on the outside is never what you have to think of yourself, what you have to believe, what you have to buy into. You choose if you breathe in what they're blowing in your face. You don't have to breathe it in. You don't have to take it in. And you can ruin an entire day very fast by worrying about what other people think, what other people this, that, and whatever. If you're a good person, let them talk about you. Because they'd have to lie to say something bad. Well, I talked about them. What if they talk about me? Did you do something to worry about? Because the reality of it all in life, folks, is if you're doing good by others and you're treating others with respect, let them talk. The truth always finds us. It never fails. Truth is undefeated. No matter what you think, truth is undefeated. So keep that outside noise outside. Fix where you're wrong. Be steadfast where you're right. Ask God for clarity on where you're wrong and where you're right. Help Him to guide you out of wrong into the right. And help Him to help you stand firm. Ask Him to help you stand firm where you are right. Be good to other people. And learn how to tune out the outside noise. Because there is nobody out there chasing their dreams, going after what they want, loving their God, being who they are happily, that isn't getting hit with this stuff. You don't have to have 1,000 followers, 1 million followers to have somebody hate on you. But the hate is coming to you because y'all doing something right. It might be crazy to hear this, but it's real. In the Bible, right? You follow my son, you might get persecuted. Look at what happened. Followers of Jesus Christ, His family, right? Those disciples, those apostles, I consider them brothers. That family, people had to die. Not had to die. People died because they love Him. They died because they supported Him. They died because they tried to walk in His steps. So if you're doing something wrong, check yourself, get right. If you're doing something right, stay right. Because we grow up with this mentality as kids, we only get yelled at if we're wrong. But then you become an adult and you realize you get yelled at all the time, whether you're right or wrong, because people like to scream. Turn the outside noise down. Find some peace. Do things that make you happy. Be good to each other. And as my father always says, never give those people a reason. They can say whatever they want. Just don't give them a reason to be right. That has been the ingredients to success here, proudly presented by the fantastic team at Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. They're open 7 days a week. They have their fine dining side, their bar, as well as their casual pizza side. You can also get in touch with them by calling 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. You can also go to myavicollis.com to order now. That's myavicollis.com. You can also go to wakeupcalldt.com, find their page under the Partners tab, and you can also find their logo on the homepage of wakeupcalldt.com. Click on it, and it'll bring you straight to My Avicolli's. So make sure that you support them today, and thank you to Avicolli's for always bringing us the opportunity for the ingredients to success in our partnership of many years right here in Central New York and beyond. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I appreciate you watching and listening all around the country and the world on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they hop into the archives. We're going to be adding some stuff here this week, actually today, on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Please forgive me for the times I said we were going to do this, and we didn't add. We are adding today. I am keeping my word from here forward. So, no excuses. Editing is time-consuming, and your boy sometimes says a lot of yeses, which doesn't leave me a lot of time because I'm always trying to do as much as I possibly can. And my apologies to you that I have not gotten shows up here as often and consistent as I wanted to in the past, but that will change now. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, on any one of these outlets. You can also ask Alexa in your Google Home device to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they'll do that for you as well. You can visit our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, including our exclusive studio partner, Heritage Hill Brewhouse in Pompey, Heritage Hill North in North Syracuse, the home of our CNS North Stars broadcast, Carvel DeWitt, our longest-standing partner, the Wildcat Sports Pub, our home for all of our West Genesee shows, Avicolli's, our home for all of our Liverpool shows, Pizza Man, our home for all Beeville shows, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Brian's Landing, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, GG Cards and Breaks, Mother's Cupboard, Great Lakes Honda City, and Servomation Refreshments, revitalizing, reimagining what it's like to have vending in your location. Now, whenever I see a vending machine anywhere, including yesterday, I think to myself, they should know about Servomation. They should have the Servomation products. They should have the fresh food that's prepared in their huge kitchen that I got to tour. They should be going to Servomation for the opportunity to have variety in product, as well as having the technology that you can enjoy in front of your face as a consumer, as well as the technology of when you need to be replenished, having a really awesome workable system in their buildings that help them to know this place is out of this place is having more ordered of this, of the 50 things that we put in their vending, these 5 things are being bought the most, and we need to replenish those and send those back out. The awesome behind the scenes story of Servomation, definitely it makes it even more exciting for me. So I would tell you to go out and get some information on Servomation, and that's by going to servomation.com. That's servomation.com. Total culinary solution for the workplace. They're also at colleges and universities, so make sure you check them out today. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. You'll find the Bobcats every single month here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in what we call the Bobcat Buzz. The Bobcat Buzz coming to you monthly, and throughout the year, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports. We have coaches, we have student athletes, and we have administration that join us here inside of the Bobcat Buzz, telling these incredible stories, and I appreciate them so very much. Every time we get to talk with Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse is always an honor. Big time shout out to Nick Dimitrievsky, Alex Grigorita, Clay Gagan Sherman, Trey Baker, Sean Peake, as well as Connor Carroll and everyone there, Mary Hawkins and the whole team at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. They have 2 locations of their campus, James Street in Syracuse, as well as right across the street from Avicolli's off of Route 57 in Liverpool. Find the Bobcats on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll also see the BSC Syracuse playlist, and you can also find your Bobcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday, like today, during Bearcat Time, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, featuring specials monthly entitled Moments with Marshall, featuring Binghamton University Athletics Director Gene Marshall, giving a behind-the-scenes look and plenty of information on Binghamton University inside of the sports world and beyond, as well as our Bearcat Breakroom, following the stories of student-athletes, coaches, and administration, including our story today with Paul Marco, which was incredibly unique, different than any other soccer story I've done, different than any other interview we've ever done here on the show. I've never had anyone have the backdrop that he had with scarves from all the games that he has gone to, as well as going and teaching in Kenya and being at the World Cup, teaching over in Germany. His absolutely wonderful story and the way that he went about telling his story was truly unique, and that is why I love getting to know the Bearcats, and you can get to know them too by being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and of course the Binghamton Bearcats playlist is there for you on our YouTube channel. You can also find them on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, many thanks inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin', to Nate Hackett, the Jets offensive coordinator, as well as to Paul Marco, the Binghamton University Bearcats men's soccer head coach of more than 2 decades. Many thanks to Avicolli's, John and the team for all the work that they do on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Go get some lunch there today. And as always, we appreciate them for the ingredients to success. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. As always, God bless, no stress, do your best. Have a wonderful day. Thank you to the amazing people out there. Jerry, thank you for the kind words. I hope you have a wonderful day. From the Heritage Hill Studios, I have been and will continue to be, by the grace of God, at Syracuse Orange Football Camp, and I have plenty to share with you. So make sure you go to YouTube right now.